On the flight back to finalize our divorce, Yi Beichuan and I both perished in the crash. Before the plane went down, he confessed, if I could do it all over, I'd marry Wang Lehuan. Only with her do I feel truly alive. When I opened my eyes again, I'd traveled back to the day he proposed to me. Gathering the bouquet in his arms, he turned and rushed toward Wang Lehuan in the crowd, dropping to one knee. Wang Lehuan, will you marry me? As he wished, I let them be together, but later, he regretted it and begged me on his knees to change my mind. Wang Lehuan covered her mouth in disbelief, nodding through joyful tears as they embraced tightly. The clueless bystanders all cheered and blessed them. I knew he had been reborn too, yet some couldn't hide their confusion. Wasn't Yi Beichuan supposed to propose to Meng Shuiwei? How did Wang Lehuan end up being the one? Exactly, Yi Beichuan clearly mentioned Meng Shuiwei in the group chat. Even asked us to come cheer for her. What's going on here? The two embraced tightly for what felt like an eternity. Yi Beichuan turned around with the microphone in hand. Thank you all for witnessing our love today. I didn't understand my true feelings before, but now I do. Wang Lehuan has always been the one I loved. I let her slip away once, but I won't make that mistake again. I want to spend the rest of my life with her, growing old together hand in hand. Then he looked at me coolly and added, forced affection isn't sweet. What we had was a mistake. Let's part amicably, no need for lingering attachments, Miss Meng. As the ringing in my ears from the explosion faded, I found myself reborn on the very day Yi Beichuan was supposed to propose to me in my past life, staring at Yi Beichuan before me and recalling his dying words about choosing Wang Lehuan if given another chance. I realized, he had been reborn too. His gaze carried the same detached rationality he'd possessed at 38 in his past life. The years of business decisions having refined him into a man of poised maturity. Meanwhile, we were still sophomores navigating campus life, and Yi Beichuan and I had already been dating for 2 years. On Valentine's Day, he gathered all our close friends and classmates, transforming the nighttime football field into a sprawling floral stage for his proposal. Truth be told, Wang Lehuang played a part in this proposal too. Wang Lehuang was a year above us, the lead singer of a band, stunning, vivacious, bold, effortlessly cool, and unapologetically passionate in love. She fell for Yi Beichuan at first sight during orientation week, showering him with breakfasts, gifts, and deliberately engineering solo encounters through student council work. Even knowing about me, she'd say, no rings exchanged yet, right? Life's for bold moves. When you spot someone special, go for it. How else would you find the one? Who knows? Yi Beichuan always met her with icy indifference. Yet she'd cling to him undeterred, beaming like sunshine. Annoyed by this situation, Yi Beichuan decided to propose to me on Valentine's Day, making it crystal clear to Wang Lehuan that he intended to marry me and would never return her affections. In our past life, when Yi Beichuan proposed, Wang Lehuan stood at the forefront of the crowd, dressed in a flamboyant red dress, boldly shouting at him, Yi Beichuan, think carefully. If this proposal succeeds, I'll truly stop loving you for good. I'm asking you one last time, will you be with me or not? The Yi Beichuan of that lifetime declared with absolute conviction, Meng Shuiwei will be my only wife in this lifetime. My heart belongs solely to her. Senior, I beg you to cease this pursuit. But now he claims our relationship was a mistake, telling me to stop clinging to it. Under the prying eyes of the surrounding crowd, I calmly observed their tightly clasped hands. Of course, from this moment on, we're through. You go your way, I'll go mine, no ties whatsoever. Yi Beichuan visibly relaxed upon hearing my words. Wang Lehuan leaped onto him excitedly, wrapping her legs around his waist. I knew you'd be mine, but you took so long to say yes. You owe me compensation. Fine, what do you want? I want to feel the thrill of riding a motorcycle at full speed. No problem, piece of cake. I'm gonna sing my heart out on that mountaintop. I'll sample every drink in every bar. Yi Beichuan gazed at her with adoration. As if beholding a long-lost treasure, the crowd erupted in cheers, chanting in unison, kiss, kiss, kiss. My roommates immediately jumped to my defense. Yi Beichuan is way out of line. This is basically public cheating. All that flowery talk about finally understanding his feelings. Where was this realization earlier? Why wait until now to break up? Exactly. He gathered everyone here to propose to Shu Yu, then dumps her in front of the whole crowd and immediately moves on to the next girl. What a scumbag. I turned to them and said, let's go. Didn't you mention a new bar opening today? My treat. I calmly drank one glass after another. My friends were worried sick, urging me to move on. That scumbag wasn't worth my tears. Smiling, I hugged them and confessed I was genuinely relieved. Leaving him had set me free. Yi Beichuan and I grew up as neighbors, childhood sweethearts from equally wealthy families. Our dynastic marriage was inevitable, practically arranged by default. We supported each other every step of the way, promising to start dating once we got into college and marry right after graduation. Everything fell perfectly into place. In our past life, marriage gradually became consumed by work, daily chores, and raising kids, until the spark between us faded. He repeatedly complained that life lacked passion, too smooth, too dull. Back then, Wang Lehuang had risen as a rising rock star. Her electrifying festival performances often holding Yi Beichuan's gaze for hours. He would rewatch even a single video obsessively. Later he deliberately found excuses to approach her. At that time, Wang Lehuang lived by Carpe Diem principles, advocated for singlehood, and had just broken up with her last boyfriend, one pursued with purpose. The other embraced freedom. These adults needed few words before becoming physically intimate multiple times. When I discovered this and confronted him, he simply said I could see other men too, suggesting we shouldn't police each other. Seeing his indifferent gaze and the absence of tenderness he once showed me, I filed for divorce. He initially refused, given the complications of dividing our assets, but eventually relented under my insistence. His mocking eyes met mine as he sneered, "Turns out true happiness lies with free spirits." These 2 weeks with Lo Huan surpassed all joy from my past, finally experiencing the unbridled passion my youth lacked. You privileged kids, raised by the book, always calculating, forever weighing gains and losses, you'll never understand what it means to live with wild abandon. It suddenly struck me how I'd never noticed this naive, foolish side of him before. He fancied himself enlightened about life's truths, blind to how his carefree existence, without material foundations, was just a sandcastle waiting to crumble at the first strong wind. The alcohol got to me again, sending me back to the restroom. Passing a slightly ajar private room, I overheard someone ask, "Yi Beichuan, that stunt you pulled on the field today was wild. Rumor has it you and Meng Shuiwei grew up together. Are you really over her now?" Yi Beichuan took a drag of his cigarette and blew out a smoke ring. "Childhood sweethearts, just because we grew up together and our families pushed us together, I thought I had feelings for her, but it was nothing more than ordinary friendship. Her cold, rational personality isn't my type at all." "Then who's your real crush?" someone teased. Yi Beichuan pulled Wang Lehuan into a sudden embrace. "Lehuan, of course." The narrow hallway forced passers-by to brush against me. When someone bumped into me, the half-open door swung wider by accident. Everyone inside fell silent as their eyes turned toward me. Yi Beichuan tapped his cigarette against the ashtray, frowning at me. "Didn't we agree to break up clean? I thought you weren't the clingy type. What are you doing here?" Wang Lehuan immediately perched on Yi Beichuan's lap, wrapping her arms around his neck possessively. "I told you from the start, it's not over till it's over. Now that Beichuan's chosen me, you're not thinking of stealing him back, are you?" Yi Beichuan patted her shoulder reassuringly. "Relax, I don't do second helpings." I couldn't help but laugh. These two were perfect for each other, equally full of themselves. "Don't worry, just passing through. I don't deal in recycled trash." The moment I turned to leave, I caught Yi Beichuan's face darkening briefly. Whatever feelings remained from my past life have long since eroded away. Their envisioned future stirs nothing in me now. As I turned, I collided straight into someone's embrace. My hands instinctively braced against their chest for support. "Firm," I noted absently. Looking up, I was stunned to see Gu Nanfeng, the crown prince of the Gu family from the north side, 5 years my senior, had just returned from overseas studies to take over the family business this year. All right, in the dimly lit bar. He wore a black shirt buttoned to the top, his chiseled features accentuated by the moody lighting, the epitome of restrained allure. He glanced downward with slightly lowered lashes. Realizing I was still lying on his chest, I awkwardly coughed and pulled back to apologize. "No problem." Just then, another voice chimed in from the private booth. "Honestly, Meng Shuiwei is quite pretty, since you've broken up, Yi Beichuan. Mind if I make a move? Whatever. Can I ask something personal?" "Did you two ever, Yi Beichuan scoffed. "She's ridiculously old-fashioned, won't sleep with anyone without an engagement. What a prude." "Heh, guess I'll have to take that as a challenge then." Wang Lehuang's annoyed voice chimed in. "If your proposal works tonight, does that mean you'll get the girl? You're the real prize here. To celebrate us, how about coming to my place tonight?" "Ugh." The man before me had an unreadable expression. His voice, deep and magnetic, broke up. "Single now." I frowned in disgust at the conversation, the excess alcohol churning uncomfortably in my stomach. With a vague acknowledgement, I hurried toward the restroom. Just as I was about to collide with someone again, an arm caught me around the waist, then I completely lost it, vomiting all over the stranger's shirt with a loud retch. The black shirt instantly gained a three-dimensional pattern. "Sorry, ugh. No need for the restroom now." Everything came up in one messy heave. Leaving both their clothes and shoes completely soiled, I covered my face, never felt so humiliated before. As I listened to him instructing the waiter about cleaning, he asked if I wanted to book a room upstairs to freshen up first. Probably from drinking too much and vomiting excessively, my legs felt weak. With an "excuse me," he scooped me up and carried me into the elevator. When I stepped out after washing up, I was startled to see Gunanfong still standing in the same spot. He explained this was the only bathroom in the suite, so I quickly stepped aside. Just then my roommate called, saying the dorm curfew was approaching and we should head back. I briefly explained they should go ahead without me. I'd just book a hotel room later. Someone knocked at the door, delivering 2 men's outfits, 3 women's outfits, and some honey lemon tea. Staring at the bathroom's frosted glass door, I wondered how I could ever repay this kindness. As the sound of running water echoed from the bathroom, it suddenly hit me. I'd left my underwear by the sink after showering, and now all the bathrobes and towels were wrapped around me. Clenching my fists in silent frustration, I nearly screamed. The flawless version of me from my past life had already suffered 2 embarrassing mishaps since Rebirth, utterly mortifying. I rushed to the front desk to book another room, only to find everything fully booked, no spare bathrobes either. Though they did manage to dig up some spare towels. Hearing the water stop, I quickly approached the door announcing I'd brought fresh towels. I turned away and handed it to him through the door crack, accidentally brushing his fingers. The contact made me flinch involuntarily. When he emerged drying his hair, I caught sight of his six-pack peeking above the towel, water droplets still gliding down his torso. Maybe it was the alcohol. My face burned unbearably. I quickly turned my back and mentioned that someone had brought fresh clothes and honey water. His hand paused mid-towel dry. Wasn't sure about your size, so I got 3 options. Honey water helps with hangovers, bought it for you. Thanks, I sighed frustratedly. Every hotel's booked solid. Can't figure out why there are so many travelers. He raised an eyebrow after a moment's thought. Probably Valentine's Day. It suddenly dawned on me too. And the atmosphere turned awkward the moment this topic came up. I forced an awkward smile. Maybe I should check other hotels instead. Wouldn't want to intrude on you and your girlfriend. He walked over, his six-pack abs at eye level as I sat on the couch, making my mouth go dry. He looked at me earnestly. I don't have a girlfriend. He reached past me for the hairdryer and added, all the other hotels are probably booked out by now. And it's not safe for a girl to be hotel hopping this late at night. I frowned. Coming home at this hour would only invite endless questioning from my parents, especially Mom, who'd been binge-watching school bullying documentaries lately. If I mentioned anything about Yibachin, they'd probably lose sleep over it. You could stay here tonight, take the bed, I'll sleep on the couch. I gave him a look. He couldn't help but chuckle and explain, our families have business dealings with each other. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. Speaking of which, I recall in his previous life he never married, yet the conglomerate flourished remarkably under his leadership. Rumors persisted in our circle that he either disliked women or had some physical condition. This thought put me at ease. With no romantic prospects anyway, there was truly nothing to worry about. And gazing at his firm chest, six-pack abs, those long powerful legs, especially those handsome chiseled features, wouldn't be such a bad deal if something actually happened. As I relaxed, the post-drink drowsiness started creeping in. After drying his hair, he glanced at my long curls. Aren't you going to blow dry yours? I touched it and found it half dry already, so I took the hairdryer and gave it a quick blast. Strangely, the more I dried it, the more awake I felt. We sat together in slightly awkward silence. After glancing at my phone for a while, I said, it's getting late, let's call it a night. With the lights off, my senses became heightened. Just as drowsiness set in, ambiguous noises drifted through the walls, reminding me instantly of the fully booked Valentine's Day hotel. Perhaps because my period was approaching, I grew increasingly irritable. Lying wide-eyed while tracking sounds through the wall, I sensed another presence in the room and whispered, are you asleep? Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe surviving death made me reckless, or perhaps the mood just felt right. Moonlight illuminated her bare calves on the couch. I swallowed hard. The bed spacious. Care to join me? His voice dropped to a husky register. Do you realize what you're suggesting? Suddenly I recalled those old rumors, performance issues. Modern medicine works wonders. No shame in getting checked. Otherwise you'll die a bachelor. Feeling the bed dip beside me, he loomed over me. Reverse psychology. Let me show you what I'm capable of. His heat radiating beneath me. My body tensed as I reached out boldly. The proof's in the trying. A night of passion. Turns out the rumors were wrong. Not just capable, but exceptionally so. Woke up the next morning with an awful backache. The room was empty. After a quick tidy up, I headed out and ran straight into Gu Nanfeng at the hotel entrance. He gestured to the takeout boxes in his hand, grabbed some breakfast. Heading back to campus now. I'll give you a ride. Feeling unwell but not making a fuss, I sat in his car nibbling my sandwich between sips of milk. As we arrived, he waved his phone and asked, "Shall we exchange WeChat?" His fingers drummed rhythmically on the steering wheel while his gaze held unmistakable predatory intent. With 38 years of life experience, I recognized the signs immediately. After a moment's thought, I smiled and said, "Sure, on my way to class." I ran into Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan. I ignored them and kept walking, but Yi Beichuan blocked my path. "Where were you last night?" "That's my business. Don't you think you're overstepping, Yi?" His expression darkened. "Someone saw you being carried to a hotel by a man yesterday. Who was he? What happened between you two?" I scoffed. "Who I'm with is none of your business. Unless I'm mistaken, we broke up yesterday. Talking like this makes me think you're still hung up on me." Wang Lehuan's face changed as she pulled her arm away from Yi Beichuan. "She can go to hotels with whoever she wants. Why do you care? Don't tell me you're still carrying a torch for her." Yi Beichuan tugged her arm gently, coaxing. "I only asked out of neighborly concern. My devotion to you is as clear as day. You're the only one in my heart now. Why else would I have chosen you in front of everyone yesterday?" Yi Beichuan looked at me indifferently. "Don't get me wrong. I broke up with you yesterday, and I was just worried you might be throwing yourself at random guys to spite me because you can't let go. As long as that's not the case, we're good." I scoffed coldly. "Try not to be so full of yourself. You're not the only man in this world. You've moved on, and so will I." Ignoring his furrowed brows, I turned and walked away. The audacity of this hypocrite. Just because Wang Lechuan chased him for 2 years, he thinks he's God's gift to women. Campus chatter about that dramatic Valentine's Day proposal gradually faded away. The fanbase shipping Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan kept growing steadily. He pedaled her around campus on his bicycle, savoring summer breezes like protagonists in a youth romance drama. They sealed their eternal love with a mountaintop kiss, vowing to cherish each other forever. They raced their motorcycles down the midnight streets, thrilling to the adrenaline rush of speed. They sang at the top of their lungs by the nighttime shore, embracing life's boundless freedom. They tattooed each other's initials on their waists as a fiery declaration of love. Wang Lehuan had already gained a modest following for her singing on social media by this point. Her frequent posts of couple photos, videos, and passionate love captions have drawn quite a crowd. Many say they're a perfect match, like the lead couple straight out of a romance novel, just as he'd wished in his past life. Yi Beichuan finally got to experience a youth filled with unbridled passion and freedom. When Yi Beichuan posted that photo with Wang Lehuan on his social media, both families now know the whole story from beginning to end. Mom and Dad were absolutely furious. I could only console them, saying it's better to come clean early than to cheat after marriage, to put their minds at ease. I told them I no longer have any feelings for Yi Beichuan. Save them the trouble of worrying about this matter. Mom nodded approvingly at me. "You've always been level-headed. Always keep some emotional distance in relationships, that way you can walk away unscathed when things change." Father pondered. "Seems we'll need to find a different partner for that North District project this time." I remained silent. In our past life, Yi Beichuan and I were lovers, so our families always prioritized each other in business collaborations. Last time, we awarded the North City project to the Yi family. Though I knew they weren't the ideal choice, it was just keeping business in the family because of my relationship with Beichuan, while strengthening our alliance. But since we're not becoming family this lifetime, I'll simply choose whichever partnership yields greater benefits. My academic workload is light, so I spend my free time interning at the company. I frequently attend business banquets to broaden my horizons and expand my professional network. This weekend I attended an elder's 80th birthday celebration. After greeting some elders with my father, I took a break at the dessert table. Just then, Yi Beichuan's younger brother approached with a glass of wine, saying, "Miss Meng, you look absolutely stunning today." I thanked him politely. He took a sip of his drink and asked, "I heard President Meng hasn't found a partner for the North City project yet." I shook my head. "I wouldn't know. My father's handling that matter." I nodded. He chuckled darkly. "My eldest brother really threw away a winning hand, lost the big prize, and might not even get the scraps. How dare he skip an occasion like this?" He looked at me with playful amusement. "Actually, I'm only 2 years younger than Miss Meng. Why don't you consider me?" I politely declined, excusing myself by saying I wanted some alone time before finally getting rid of him. A deep, husky voice came from beside us. "Miss Meng seems quite popular." My fingers tightened around the glass as I saw who approached. "Mr. Gu, eavesdropping isn't very gentlemanly behavior." He leaned in slightly and murmured, "A gentleman would remain composed with a beauty in his arms. But facing Miss Meng, I'm afraid I can't claim to be one." His proximity instantly brought back memories of that wild, delirious night. I swirled my wine glass and asked, "What exactly do you mean by that, Mr. Gu?" "That was the youngest son of the Yi family, wasn't it? He's too young. If you're looking for a partner, Miss Meng, perhaps you could consider me. What do you think?" As I faced this man radiating mature charm, recalling his business maneuvers in the coming years, I had to admit his remarkable competence and shrewdness. What if I made him my partner? Just as I was about to respond, hushed whispers drifted from afar. I turned to look. To my surprise, Yi Beichuan actually showed up, and he brought Wang Lehuan along with him. The pair must have just returned from a motorcycle ride, still clad in their riding gear that starkly contrasted with the sea of suits and evening gowns. Yi Beichuan's father was murmuring something to him with visible irritation on his face. Wang Lehuan, however, was completely at ease. Clinging to Yi Beichuan's arm while curiously glancing around, after greeting the birthday celebrant, Yi Beichuan led Wang Lehuan over. "Hungry again? Didn't you just have chow mein? Can I try the desserts here?" Wondering if rich people's party snacks taste different from regular bakeries. "Alright, have it your way." The two were completely absorbed in their intimate moment. When they noticed me, Yi Beichuan gave a slight nod. Wang Lehuan kept grabbing snacks here and there. She picked up her phone and took a selfie. Finally holding a pastry, she twirled before me and remarked, "You rich folks sure love your formalities. Can't even attend a birthday party without dressing up in gowns and suits, putting on quite the show." Someone nearby couldn't hold back. "This is proper attire for formal occasions. It shows respect. Meanwhile, you show up in biker gear with wind-blown hair. Isn't that downright disrespectful?" Wang Lehuang ran fingers through her hair. "I call this effortless style. The birthday gentleman just praised us youngsters for being vibrant and genuine, unlike you lot. Doesn't all this pretense exhaust you?" Her words instantly drew glares of fury, some even directed at Yi Beichuan by association. Yi Beichuan shielded Wang Lehuang and offered a terse apology. "Lehuang speaks her mind plainly. I hope you'll overlook it. This isn't the occasion for disturbances during the elders' celebration." In his previous life, he held a high position where others flattered him. His aloof demeanor never drew criticism, but now, as just an unproven college student with no corporate standing, his frosty tone instantly drew disapproving glances from those around him. A peer challenged, "Yi Beichuan, what exactly do you see in her?" Meng Shuiwei clearly outshines her in family background, looks, and capability. Suddenly, all eyes turned toward me. Yi Beichuan frowned at me first before saying, "Meng Shuiwei is fine, but Yue Huan will always be the best in my eyes." He then took Wang Yuehuan's hand, confessing what he adored most was her candid passion, how being with her made him feel utterly at ease and happy. Wang Yuehuan boldly escalated things by planting a fiery kiss on him right then and there. The incident left the surrounding crowd visibly appalled. Such indecorous behavior at a formal event was downright scandalous. Someone mocked, "What is this, a cheesy soap opera?" Rumor has it Yi Beichuan's father gave him an earful after the banquet. He demanded Yi break up with Wang Lehui and apologize to me, claiming only I could further his career. Yi refused, insisting he'd make his own way without relying on women. They parted on bad terms. I'm actually relieved. Yi Beichuan is already on my blacklist, so I'll just stay committed to Wang Lehuan. Just don't come crawling back to me, or I'll be too disgusted to sleep. Father ultimately decided to collaborate with the Gu family on the North City project. Father can't stop singing Gu Nanfeng's praises, so Gu Nanfeng even came over for dinner at our place. That afternoon when I was heading back to campus, Gu Nanfeng offered me a ride since it was on his way. As we arrived, the car doors remained locked. I gave him a puzzled look. His fingers drummed on the steering wheel as he fixed me with an intense gaze. "Miss Meng, you still haven't given me your answer about the banquet hall matter." It suddenly hit me, and I squinted at him. "Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking?" Seeing his slightly nervous expression, I chuckled. "Sure." He stared at me blankly. "What, didn't Mr. Gu propose to court me?" "I accept. If I must choose someone for an arranged marriage, Gu Nanfeng is indeed a good candidate. At least in my past life he remained single without any scandals." He stared intently at me. "You truly agree?" With a playful smile, I traced his jawline with my finger. "With your handsome looks and remarkable competence, Mr. Gu, accepting your proposal seems only natural. Are you surprised?" He grasped my hand, murmuring, "It's hard to believe this is real." I leaned in and kissed his lips, giving a playful nip. "Convinced now?" His dark eyes smoldered as he cradled my head, turning the tables with possessive intensity. We finally broke apart, both breathless and flushed. He traced my lips with his finger. Summer break is coming, any plans? I was going to intern at my family's company, but looking at Gunanfong, I suddenly changed my mind. How about interning at your company for 2 months? He chuckled. Don't want to be apart from me. I said honestly, everyone knows Director Gu's exceptional skills. May I have the honor of learning from you? With absolute pleasure. That summer, I worked as Gunanfeng's assistant and witnessed firsthand his sharp industry insights and decisive leadership style. He's a true workaholic. Pulling all-nighters was routine, yet disciplined enough to wake at 6 a.m. daily for workouts. His self-restraint was remarkable. He'd politely decline advances from women at business dinners without exception. I teased him, "Are you really not tempted at all?" He replied that accepting would mean losing a few percentage points of profit, and for him, the contract was what mattered most. If I hadn't experienced his vigor at night, I'd have wondered if there was something wrong with him. Once after, I asked him, "If you hadn't met me, would you have stayed single forever?" After a moment's thought, he said he wasn't sure, having already mapped out the GU Group's strategy for the next 2 decades. He figured he'd either be too busy with work or might settle down if the right person came along. I couldn't help rolling my eyes internally. This man stayed single into his 40s without finding the right person. I asked him why he chose me. He admitted he didn't know either. Our first meeting was at a banquet, and though he'd inquired about me afterward, I was already with Yi Beichuan at the time. It wasn't until he learned about our breakup that he made his move. 5 years slipped by unnoticed. After graduating, I pursued further studies abroad on Gunanfeng's recommendation. Combined with what I've learned from him, I now feel highly competent, whether it's managing the company, launching projects, or making personnel decisions. Everything comes naturally. The year I returned home, Gunanfeng successfully proposed to me. During those 5 years, Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan lived life to the fullest without restraint. They wore wedding attire at graduation, and their commencement ceremony wedding trended online. People praised it as the epitome of perfect love. In her past life, Wang Lehuan, a staunch marriage skeptic, ended up marrying the man she'd pursued for 2 years, while Yi Beichuan fulfilled his previous life's promise by wedding the fiery and flamboyant Wang Lehuan. With different aspirations, we each embraced the lifestyles we desired. I thought that was the final chapter. But life's like compiling a book of mistakes. Someone always ends up tearing down everything they've built. Not yet. Yi Beichuan joined the corporate world, while Wang Lehuan became a rock star. A friend told me they've been on again off again several times. With their growing fanbase and Yi Beichuan's status, their relationship drama keeps trending online. I get it, life should be lived passionately, but lately, breakup rumors about them just won't stop. Someone captured footage of Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan having an argument. Others leaked a video of Wang Lehuan getting cozy with another man on the dance floor at a bar. I just skimmed through the gossip like casual news before diving back into work preparations and wedding arrangements. After work that day, as Gunanfeng was holding my hand to leave, my phone rang with an unexpected caller ID. I answered the call and followed the voice's direction to glance nearby. Yi Beichuan stood there, phone in hand, watching me. Gunanfeng tightened his grip on my hand. I patted his arm reassuringly. "Wait here, it's probably work-related. I'll be right back." We move in the same circles. I've crossed paths with Yi Beichuan a few times, mostly at work events. He kissed my forehead like staking a claim, leaving me torn between laughter and exasperation. Only when I approached Yi Beichuan did I catch the strong scent of tobacco clinging to him. I regarded him coolly. "Professional matters are best discussed during office hours, Mr. Yi." The corner of his mouth twitched as he studied me. "How have you been lately?" I raised an eyebrow. "Not bad." He didn't seem here to talk business, so there was no point sticking around. I was about to say my goodbyes. He lit another cigarette. "Been having a rough time lately." I frowned at his smoke and subtly took 2 steps back. Through his outpouring, I came to realize that ever since graduating and joining the company, he'd been spending less time with Wang Lehuan. Yet Wang Lehuan kept her social circle active, frequently partying with friends, living it up in carefree abandon. Sometimes she'd grow particularly close to certain male friends, which inevitably provoked Yi Beichuan's confrontations. Escalating their arguments, Wang accused Yi of neglecting her, while Yi countered that she couldn't understand his struggles as the family's breadwinner. Wang Lehuan said, "Just live for the moment. Why bother making so much money? You can't take it with you when you die." But Yi Beichuan fundamentally disagreed. To him, money was the foundation of everything. Back in school, the family supported him, but now that he's graduated and joined the company, every penny has to be earned by himself. Moreover, Yi Beichuan has 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers. two of whom are illegitimate children acknowledged by the Yi family patriarch and brought into the household. The internal power struggle is intense. Yi Beichuan is mediocre at best. It was only with my main family's backing in his past life that he managed to seize majority control of the conglomerate, this time, without my assistance. Even with his memories from the previous life, he's in a precarious position. He smirked bitterly. I'm just restless, needed to vent to someone, and somehow ended up here. You must think I'm a complete failure now, don't you? I replied calmly. Everyone has their own path, once chosen. Whether it's success or failure depends entirely on how you perceive it. What happens to you now is none of my concern. I have a fiancé, Mr. Yi. Next time you need someone to confide in, I suggest finding someone else. My man tends to get jealous. The thought of Gu Nanfeng made me smile involuntarily. Yi Beichuan stared at me blankly, about to say something when I cut him off. If there's nothing else, Mr. Yi, I'll take my leave now. Goodbye. The moment I got in the car, Gu Nanfeng pulled me in and kissed me fiercely, meeting his possessive gaze. I tapped his forehead with a smile. Relax, I'm not one to revisit old flames. With a towering tree like Mr. Gu around, I'd never let go. The wedding took place as scheduled 2 months later. The ceremony was grand and dreamlike. When my father placed my hand in Nanfeng Gu's, I saw his eyes glisten with emotion. As the officiant announced the ring exchange, he slipped the band on my finger, kissed my forehead, and vowed solemnly, I love you. I slipped the ring onto his finger too, gazing at his beaming face. I love you too. Some may betray your affection in this world, but others will cherish you with unwavering sincerity. Those who offer genuine hearts deserve no betrayal. So, Gu Nanfeng, in this lifetime I choose you. Even if I hold back a fraction, every remaining ounce of my devotion is yours. If you stay true, I'll stand by you till the very end. Married life remained simple yet blissful. Then came the online exposé about Wang Lehuan's drunken hotel rendezvous, with precise timestamps and locations. Netizens feasted on the juicy gossip. Reporters cornered Yi Beichuan at Yi Group's entrance, his haggard appearance telling the whole story. The reporter's questions grew increasingly pointed, live on camera. He slammed down the microphone and shoved through the crowd to leave. I skimmed past the news story and kept scrolling through the latest policy updates. My phone rang unexpectedly. Seeing the caller was the very man from the live broadcast, I answered with a frown. Heavy breathing came through the line. Shuiwe, I regret everything. Can we try again? I warned him. Yi Beichuan, even if neither of us were in relationships right now, I still wouldn't marry you. Heh. But in our past life you were my wife. We're meant to be together. My heart skipped a beat. His tone was disturbingly off. I don't understand what you're saying, unless it's work-related. Stop calling me. I'm very happy with my husband, so please stop disrupting my life. I hung up and blocked him immediately, but couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. Too distracted to focus on work, I packed up my things and headed home. As I settled into my car at the parking lot, something felt off. Glancing at the rearview mirror, my eyes widened in shock. The moment I tried to push the door open, I felt a sharp prick on my neck, then everything went black. When I came to, I saw Yi Beichuan's silhouette standing before me, weak and disoriented. I took in my surroundings. We were on the school rooftop. Finding myself physically unharmed, I demanded, Yi Beichuan, what the hell are you doing? Do you realize this is kidnapping? Yi Beichuan turned and knelt before me, his voice tender, Shuiwei. I know I was wrong. You're the one who truly suits me best. Wang Lehuan was just for dating, but you're meant to be my wife. Let's start over. Alright, I calculated silently. Fine, but let's discuss this somewhere else. He stared intently. You're lying. Shuyu has always been sharp. I knew you wouldn't agree. Trying to escape by changing locations, aren't you? Standing up with a careless chuckle, he said, no matter if you refuse. Shuyue, ever heard of past lives? Last lifetime we were married, blissfully happy with both son and daughter. The envy of everyone. Everything in this life has been a mistake. Now, I'm going to reset it all. My heart skipped a beat. What did he mean by that? Feeling for my phone in my pocket, I secretly typed a message under the table. Yi Beichuan smirked indifferently. Go ahead and call. The police won't change anything. We'll all just return to square one. Hearing this, I immediately called the police and reported the current situation. I also called Gunan phone, asking him to bring Wang Lehuan over. Perhaps she could talk some sense into Yi Beichuan in his current state. Yi Beichuan listened to my call while checking his watch, muttering there were still 30 minutes left. Staring at my phone's clock, I suddenly remembered, in my past life, the plane crash had occurred exactly half an hour from now. I stared at Yi Beichuan in horror. You're insane. You chose this life yourself, and now you want to gamble with death just because it didn't work out. If you want to die, fine, but don't drag me down with you. I tried to walk but my legs gave out. Yi Beichuan half carried me to the rooftop edge, gazing at the distant playground. You know, when I was reborn, it was right when I proposed to you. Had you said yes, we'd be married now, living happily ever after. I scoffed coldly, happy. The moment things went smoothly between us. You'd start pining for Wang Lehuang again. Isn't that the truth? He fell silent for a moment. So you've been reborn too. That explains why you were so calm when I proposed to Wang Lehuan. Perfect timing then. Let's go back to the beginning and start fresh. This time, I promise to spend my whole life with you properly. I enunciated each word clearly. I refuse. Even if we return to our past lives, I won't be with you. You know my temperament well enough with these memories. I'd only stay as far away from you as possible. 20 minutes later, Gu Nanfeng arrived with the police, accompanied by Wang Lehuan. Gu Nanfeng looked at me anxiously. Yi Beichuan, I'll be your hostage. Just let Shu Yu go. Yi Beichuan shook his head, clenching his fists. Gu Nanfeng pressed. Name your terms, anything. Still refusing, Yi Beichuan remained silent until Wang Lehuan exploded. I knew it. You're still hung up on Meng Shiyu, aren't you? What's this? Some twisted suicide pact. Yi Beichuan glanced at Wang Lehuang and scoffed. Looking back now, those days with you seemed fun but were actually pretty dull. Just drinking and clubbing, nothing substantial. Wang Lehuang sneered back. Then break up. You're the one who went hardest back then, and now you're bored. God, I regret marrying you. If I could redo it, I'd stay the hell away. Yi Beichuan nodded. Well said, that's exactly what I want, a do-over. He checked his watch and murmured, it's time. My heart skipped a beat. Yi Beichuan, even if we could start over, I'd never choose you. He gave me a long look. You're right. If you went back with your memories intact, you'd never forgive me. So, he released me. I'll go back alone then. I'll rewrite our ending, start fresh, and reclaim everything that's rightfully mine. My legs gave way as I collapsed, only for Gu Nanfeng to scoop me up and dash downstairs. It wasn't until I reached the ground that I noticed the ambulance parked nearby. And the deflated airbags scattered across the pavement. I spent a month in the hospital before fully recovering. Later I heard Yi Beichuan didn't actually die. He ended up completely paralyzed with brain damage, unable to recognize anyone. There's almost no chance of recovery. Wang Lehuan sued Yi Beichuan for divorce, and the Yi family eventually intervened to dissolve their marriage. Yi Beichuan, having lost all his memories, spent the rest of his days in a nursing home. Gu Nanfeng and I had 2 children. One took his surname, the other took mine. We've walked hand in hand through the years. Those who give their heart shall receive heart in return. Story 2. My husband Sumubai got promoted with military relocation benefits, so he bought 3 train tickets, one for himself, one for his cousin Lu Xiaoya, and one for her child, Qingqing. I'll come back for you once my mother's leg heals, in my past life. Sumubai fed me the same line, taking Lu Xiaoya and her kid first while leaving me behind to care for his injured mother. Just days after Sumubai left with Lu Xiaoya and her child, I was caught in bed with the village bachelor Lu Laosan by Granny Wu Hohot and her posse. Despite her injured leg, branded as an adulteress and publicly shamed, I mustered my last ounce of dignity to seek Sumubai's help in clearing my name. Instead, I found him accompanying Lu Xiaoya to her prenatal checkup. Turned out Sumubai had secretly married Lu Xiaoya and fathered her child behind my back. In utter despair, I chose the path of no return, starting over. I nodded calmly upon hearing those familiar words. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your mother. Within 3 days of Sumubai's departure, I urgently telegraphed, mother critically ill, return immediately. Sumubai rushed back upon receiving the tragic news, utterly stunned to see Wu Hohot with both legs amputated. He tentatively suggested, Qingqing, maybe you could stay in the countryside to look after my mother for now, until she, with my packed luggage on my back. I calmly told him, blood takes care of blood. As an outsider, I have neither the duty nor obligation to be your family's live-in maid. When Sumubai's promotion transfer came through, I, his wife, was the last to know. Auntie Qin from next door held my hand and said, Qingqing, you'll be joining the army in a few days. Your hard times are finally over. After you're stationed, do come back to visit me when you can. Don't you dare forget about me. I stayed silent. Sumubai claimed this trip home was just a month-long family visit, but he'd been keeping his transfer orders from me the whole time. Had Auntie Qin not spilled the beans first, he wouldn't have planned to tell me at all. In my past life, I immediately confronted Sumubai after hearing about this from Sister Qin. Reluctantly, he confessed, Qingqing, Xiaoya and her child are struggling. She needs stable work to support them. I plan to take them with me first, then bring you along next time." Furious, I retorted, "How dare you? I'm your wife. What will people think when you show up with Lu Xiaoya and her child? How will you explain your relationship with her?" Cornered by my questions, Sumubai flushed with anger. "This is charity work. As a military wife, shouldn't you support my decisions? But why should I? When I married him, he was dirt poor, just 2 rundown thatched huts and a frail mother in a bare house. Back then, no one in the village would marry him. They all looked down on his poverty and saw his mother Wu Hohat as a toxic, lazy shrew who'd be nothing but dead weight. I was the one who threw caution to the wind and married him. While Sumubai couldn't lift a finger to help from his military post, I toiled day in and day out under the scorching sun, working my fingers to the bone to earn work points and keep this household afloat. As our fortunes gradually improved with his promotion, the number of dependents he had to support grew as well. Out of the blue, he brought home Lu Xiaoya and her child, claiming they were distant cousins who'd lost their husband and had no one left. Back then I was naive enough to believe Sumubai was some saintly do-gooder performing charity. Even after his promotion, he still refused to send me his salary to support our household, while Lu Xiaoya lived noticeably better than anyone else in the village. It wasn't until people started hinting that Sumubai was giving his entire paycheck to Lu Xiaoya and her child that the penny finally dropped. That's why in my past life, when Sumubai proposed taking Lu Xiaoya and her son with him to the military base, I refused. Sumubai argued with me and stormed off in a huff. The very next evening, his mother Wu Hohat accidentally fell and injured her leg, leaving her bedridden. Sumubai came to me earnestly, saying, "Mom can't be left alone with her injured leg now. Ching Ching, please bear the burden of staying home to care for her. I'll come get you once she recovers." In my past life, I had no choice but to stay and care for the injured Wu Hohat. I could only watch helplessly as Sumubai left with Lu Xiaoya and her child, carrying all their belongings. I gave Wu Hohat all the finest ingredients from our home to help her leg heal faster. Back when supplies were scarce, I'd toil daily, catching fish in the river and hunting pheasants or rabbits in the mountains, just to prepare nourishing meals for her. When Wu Hohat was bedridden, I personally attended to all her toileting needs, worried she might develop bedsores from immobility. I'd heat water after finishing chores to give her sponge baths. I changed the bedsheets religiously every few days. Honestly, I treat Wu Hohat 100 times better than my own mother. But how does she repay me? It's been a while since Sumubai left with Lu Xiaoya, yet Wu Hohat's leg injury shows no sign of improvement. She's still bedridden, though that doesn't stop her from eating and drinking to her heart's content. In desperation, I sought help from a renowned folk healer, only to land myself in trouble that very night. My bedridden wife Wu Hohat, who'd been paralyzed and immobile, led a crowd to catch me in bed with the village bachelor, old Lu III. The scandal ruined my reputation overnight. I became the target of the villagers' scorn and abuse. Even Wu Hohat, whose legs miraculously recovered, would curse or beat me daily, demanding I leave immediately. Her house wouldn't tolerate a shameless adulteress like me. No one would listen to my pleas of innocence. Back then I felt wronged and helpless, yet clung to a sliver of hope. After all these years of devotion to this family, Sumubai knows exactly what kind of person I am, that Lu Laosan is 30 years my senior, old, repulsive and disgusting. I'd have to be blind to get involved with such filth. I was certain Sumubai would stand by me and believe in me. He would surely sympathize with my plight and give me a proper explanation. Clinging to that single hope, I rushed overnight to the military base to find Sumubai. During the journey, I considered countless possibilities, except that he could betray me. Then I saw Sumubai accompanying Lu Xiaoya, visibly pregnant, for her prenatal checkup, and learned the baby was already 5 months along. My world collapsed. In a fit of blind rage, I made a desperate scene demanding justice from the military superiors. Then Sumubai produced his marriage certificate with Lu Xiaoya. They were the lawfully wedded couple all along. After slaving away in Su's household for 6 years, I turned out to be nothing but an unrelated outsider. The cruel truth was unbearable, yet impossible to deny. Helpless and penniless, I was at a complete loss about what to do. In utter despair, my exhausted body was struck down by a speeding car on the street, never to wake again. Still dazed from my rebirth, Sister Chin next door repeated the exact same words she'd said in my previous life. Words failed me as I hungrily took in my surroundings. How wonderful, I'm back again. Pushing open the courtyard gate, Sumubai was lifting Lu Xiaoya's child high in the air. The child giggled with delight as his strong hands tossed them upward again and again, catching them each time. Lu Xiaoya stood nearby watching them with a tender smile, immediately fetching a handkerchief to wipe the sweat from Sumubai's forehead when she noticed it. Their eyes met with such tenderness, their radiant smiles sweeter than honey. After 6 years of marriage to Sumubai, I'd only ever known his cold indifference, never imagined his smile could be this gentle, this breathtaking. At the sound of the door, both turned to look at me. Lu Xiaoya didn't even pause while wiping sweat from Sumubai's brow. Treating me like some intruder disrupting their intimacy, Sumubai stopped tossing Lu Xiaoya's son in the air and looked at me somewhat awkwardly. The giggling child, suddenly deprived of his fun game, cried out, "Daddy, throw me again, I want to play more." In their past life, Lu Xiaoya's child would also frequently call Sumubai daddy. Sumubai explained that the fatherless child didn't understand what daddy meant and was just babbling due to his young age. How could I have been so stupid in my past life to fall for such a lame excuse from him? I let out a cold laugh. Hearing it, Sumubai's face flashed with panic as he immediately put down the child in his arms and began explaining to me, "Dashu doesn't understand what daddy means, he's just playing around, don't take it seriously." I ignored Sumubai, my icy gaze fixed on Lu Xiaoya who was wiping sweat from his brow. If the child doesn't know better, shouldn't his mother? Lu Xiaoya was utterly mortified by my questioning, too ashamed to respond. She just gave Sumubai a pitiful look. "Are you mad, Ching Ching? I'm so sorry, it's all my fault." "What apology? You did nothing wrong. Since when does an adult have the right to pick on a child?" This wasn't the first time Sumubai defended Lu Xiaoya. I used to swallow my pride, but not this time. "Sumubai, would you still think it's normal if someone else's child called me mom?" Sumubai was left speechless. With no retort, at that moment, Wu Hohat rushed out to mediate, glaring at me. "Weren't you going to buy meat? Why did you come back empty-handed?" I calmly uttered 2 words, "No money." In my past life, I ran around like crazy when Sumubai returned, spending every penny I had to buy him meat and delicacies, terrified of shortchanging him. God, I was such a hopeless fool in my previous life. Out of 5 people in this household, I'm the only one looking pale, skinny and malnourished. If Sumubai had even an ounce of affection for me, he wouldn't have watched me waste away to this ghostly state. I deserved being used by that family in my past life, but it won't happen again in this lifetime. I won't let those heartless bastards take advantage of me ever again. When I said I had no money, Wu Hohat became even more displeased. "I saw you leave with money myself. Where is it now?" "I got robbed." "You're so useless. Why does everyone pick on you? Just because you're an easy target?" "Exactly. I've got pushover written all over my face, haven't I? That's why people walk all over me." Wu Hohat was stunned speechless. She'd grown so accustomed to bullying me. I'd always just smiled and taken it, that my retort caught her completely off guard. Cornered by my retort, Wu Hohat flushed with rage, planting her hands on her hips as she glared at me. "Useless good for nothing. Why aren't you making dinner? Trying to starve us all?" I stared coldly back. "Are you all invalids? Am I the hired help here? Does the whole household go hungry if I don't cook? You, how dare you?" Wu Hohat immediately turned to Sumubai to tattle. "Mubai, look how Gu Qingqing speaks to me right in front of you. You can imagine what I endure when you're not around." Lu Xiaoya quickly stood up to support the tearful Wu Hohat. "Auntie, let me handle the cooking. Please don't be upset. Look how considerate Xiaoya is. She's still our guest." "Since when do we make guests cook?" I scoffed. "I've never heard of guests overstaying their welcome for a year and a half. At this point, we're not hosting a guest, we're worshipping an ancestor." My blunt words left the courtyard in stunned silence, while Sumubai fixed me with an intense stare. "Gu Qingqing, what do you mean by this? Don't you realize how outrageous your words are? Apologize right now." "An apology? Ha, in your dreams." I ignored Sumubai and walked up the steps to my room. Behind me, I heard Lu Xiaoya sobbing. "Mubai, I shouldn't have come here and caused you trouble. I'll leave right now. Tomorrow I'll take the child and go." I sneered and slammed the door shut, cutting off all the noise outside. "I don't have time to trade barbs with these lowlifes right now. I've got more important things to deal with." Sumubai brought back some money this time. In my past life, I was naive enough to think he struggled alone outside and refused to spend a single penny of his. Now that I know what scum Sumubai is, I'd be a fool not to use his money. I unpacked Sumubai's luggage and pocketed all the cash inside. After packing the hand-stitched cloth shoes I'd made for him through sleepless nights, I hurried out the door again. The courtyard was empty. Sumubai, Lu Xiaoya, and the others had vanished, leaving only murmurs of consolation from the main hall. Humph. I rushed next door to Sister Qin's house with the shoes in hand. "Sister, please take these shoes for Brother Qin to wear." Sister Qin gasped. "But aren't these the shoes you made for Mubai? What's happened, sister?" "I suspect Sumubai is cheating on me with Lu Xiaoya behind my back. I won't let my hard work go to waste on someone like that." Sister Qin sighed when she heard me say that. "Qingqing, ever since that Lu Xiaoya arrived, The village gossip has spread far and wide. I thought you'd resigned yourself to enduring this forever. It's not too late to wake up now. What are you planning to do? I'll take it one step at a time. But I won't let that heartless family off easy. Sister, could you do me a favor? I didn't return home until after having dinner at Sister Chin's place. Sumubai was waiting for me in the room with a dark expression. The moment I stepped in, he demanded, "What's gotten into you today? Are you out of your mind? How could you speak to Xiaoya and her child like that? What did I say wrong? Is she some helpless cripple, living here rent-free for over a year without lifting a finger to cook? Am I your family's unpaid maid?" Sumubai froze, taken aback by my unyielding, razor-sharp tone. After studying me intently, he finally reined in his anger. "Ching, we need to talk. I knew exactly what was coming. I've got something to say too." I cut in. "Let me go first. The money you brought home is all gone to pay debts, and it's still not enough. Figure out how to scrape together a few hundred more for me." "What? You used all that money to pay debts? How did we end up with so much debt?" "You should ask yourself that. Weren't you the one insisting on supporting Lu Xiaoya and her child? They can't tolerate the slightest hardship. Gourmet meals every day, snacks for the kid, seasonal wardrobes for Xiaoya, not to mention your mother demanding lavish treats every other day. Running this household alone, I couldn't possibly earn enough to cover all these expenses. What choice did I have but to borrow? Speaking of which, you've been away for years without sending a single penny home. You must have saved quite a bit by now." Sumubai was rendered speechless. In our past life, I'd never given him any cause for concern. So he'd taken everything for granted. Now, learning about the mountain of debt, his face darkened with dismay. "Couldn't you have been more frugal? Telling me this is pointless. Go say it to your mother and Lu Xiaoya's family. I've been wearing the same coat for 6 years now." Sumubai fell silent as he stared at my threadbare clothes, patched layer upon layer. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "I'll figure out the money situation, Ching. I got promoted." I just muttered, "Oh." Seeing my indifferent expression and complete lack of enthusiasm, Sumubai had no choice but to continue awkwardly. "The army granted a dependent assignment slot. Pack your things, you'll be joining me as a military spouse in a few days." Sumubai's words shocked me. In my past life, this never happened. He'd always specifically requested Lu Xiaoya as his dependent. Why would he change his mind this time around? I didn't trust Sumubai's sudden change of heart, so I kept my guard up. The following evening, I overheard Wu Hohat's conversation with Sumubai. Sumubai said, "Gu Qingqing has completely changed these days. The only way I could think of was to pacify her by promising to take her along as a military dependent." Wu Hohat visibly panicked. "You're actually taking that useless woman as a camp follower. What about Xiaoya and her child?" "This is just a temporary measure to keep Gu Qingqing calm. I'm definitely taking Xiaoya with me. She's carrying my child after all. I can't leave mother and child to suffer at home." Wu Hohat immediately agreed. "You're absolutely right. Take Xiaoya with you and leave the household to me. I know how to make Gu Qingqing stay." "Mom, do you have any good ideas?" "Fake an injury. Tomorrow I'll claim I hurt my leg in a fall. I've got connections at the hospital who'll help us cover it up. If Gu Qingqing behaves and stays to take care of me, we'll come clean after Xiaoya delivers the baby. But if she causes trouble, don't blame me for what happens next." "Mom, what are you planning? Don't you know your own mother? I'll handle Gu Qingqing once and for all, clean, thorough, and permanent, so you and Xiaoya won't have any future worries." Wu Hohat pulled a small pouch from under her pillow and boasted to Sumubai. "This is anesthetic I got from a traveling physician. He said just a pinch could knock out a tiger for a whole day." What a vicious old hag. So she was the mastermind behind setting me up with Lu Laosan in my past life. Since you've shown no mercy, don't blame me for what's coming. For the next 2 days, I secretly observed Wu Hohat, Sumubai, and Lu Xiaoya's movements, watching coldly as they picked the spot for the staged accident and pretending not to notice them discussing the details. I feigned ignorance while packing my belongings to join the army. There was so much to prepare it took me days. That evening, as I was organizing my things, Sumubai walked in. His eyes flickered as he watched me bustling about. "All packed, didn't forget anything, almost done. By the way, when are we leaving?" The moment I finished speaking, a loud thud came from outside, followed by Wu Hohat's piercing scream. Sumubai immediately rushed out, while I trailed behind at a leisurely pace. Wu Hohat lay sprawled in the courtyard, wailing like a stuck pig. Both Sumubai and Lu Xiaoya rushed past me to support Wu Hohat. Sumubai cried out with heartfelt concern. Mom, what's wrong?" Lu Xiaoya chimed in urgently. "Auntie, are you okay? Where does it hurt? Mubai and I will take you to the hospital right now." Wu Hohat wailed incessantly, unable to form complete sentences between her cries of pain. Both Su Mubai and Lu Xiaoyao were convinced she was putting on an act. Su even snapped at my sluggish self trailing behind. Gu Qingqing. What are you standing around for? Hurry up and help my mother to the hospital. I rushed forward and shrieked. Blood, so much blood. Su and Lu followed my pointing finger. The relentless flow of blood gushing from Wu Hohat's body left them both stunned. The moment they saw Wu Hohat's blood soaking into the ground, they screamed in unison. Wu Hohat was rushed to the hospital without delay, several miles from the village to the town clinic, with no proper roads. Motor vehicles were naturally out of the question. They hauled Wu Hohat on a wooden cart, her screams growing hoarse by the time they reached the hospital. During surgery, doctors discovered her buttocks were riddled with glass shards. The doctor spent a full 3 hours removing hundreds of bone fragments. With this happening, my plans to join the military contingent were obviously ruined. While Wu Hohat lay unconscious in bed, Su Mubai couldn't wait to confront me. Qingqing. My mother broke her leg. The doctor says it'll take months to heal. Bones and tendons need 100 days to mend. Someone must stay home to care for her. I understand, I said considerately. Don't worry, I'll stay and take good care of your mother. Qingqing, you're such a blessing. I'll be counting on you to look after mom from now on. It's no trouble at all. It's my duty, but caring for a bedridden elderly does take energy, so I might not be able to handle other chores as much. About your salary, I'll make sure to send money home regularly. Su Mubai promised immediately. I don't want empty promises. You'd better figure out how to borrow money from someone else first. Leave some for me to take care of your mother. Oh, and don't forget about paying back those debts. They've been overdue for ages. We can't keep dragging this out. Seeing that I agreed to stay and care for his mother, Su Mubai responded eagerly. Don't worry. Leave it all to me. I'll go borrow the money right away. True to his word, Su Mubai managed to borrow 1,000 yuan and handed it to me in less than a day. When handing over the money, he feigned hesitation and said, Qingqing, this military-dependent quota has a time limit. If I don't take you, it'll go to waste. What I mean is, Xiaoya has been struggling with the child. Why don't we let her and the kid come with me this time? Once she gets a job, she won't trouble us anymore. No problem, I agreed readily. It wouldn't inconvenience me for long anyway. Su Mubai taking Lu Xiaoya away actually made things easier for me. My thoughtfulness moved Su Mubai so much he tried to hug me, but I dodged it. Go tell Lu Xiaoya first. Have her pack her bags immediately. Su Mubai left in high spirits, not even bothering about his mother who was in a sorry state. On the third morning, Su Mubai and Lu Xiaoya left carrying bundles of belongings. Just like in their past life, I personally saw them off at the station, solemnly reminding Su Mubai as he boarded, don't worry about home, I'll handle everything. I won't disturb your work unless it's absolutely necessary. After seeing Su Mubai and Lu Xiaoya off, I turned and headed straight to the village office to get our marriage certificate notarized by the village chief. Then I ambled home to find Wu Hohat already discharged from hospital, lying in bed demanding I prepare her meal. Naturally I obliged her request, cooking Wu Hohat an overflowing bowl of noodles with 2 perfectly poached eggs. The egg noodles contained special ingredients Wu had hidden under her pillow, potent enough to knock out a tiger. Wu Hohat happily dozed off after eating her egg noodles, while I rushed outside screaming, "Help, my mother-in-law has collapsed." Hearing my desperate cries, neighbors quickly came to investigate. Everyone gasped at Wu Hohat's condition. Feigning concern, I said, she was perfectly fine just now. I made her egg noodles myself, and when I returned after cleaning up, she was like this. Someone shook Wu Hohat and called her name repeatedly, but she remained completely unresponsive. Baffled, the neighbors muttered, could this be some kind of evil possession, really? I frantically rummaged through the bed and accidentally pulled out the bag Wu Hohat had hidden under the pillow. What's this? Everyone stared at the bag. Someone opened it and sniffed. Weird smell. What's inside this thing? The person next to them also took a whiff but couldn't figure it out either. At that moment, everyone who smelled the contents of the bag collapsed to the ground with a thud. They showed the same unconscious symptoms as Wu Hohat. Panic ensued. People scrambled to call for help while others rushed the victims to the hospital. Everyone thought it was eerie, convinced some evil spirit in the bag was behind it. I don't see it that way. We can't delay this. She needs medical attention immediately. As I spoke, I found a handcart and loaded Wu Hohat onto it before pulling her out the door. The onlookers who had gathered grew terrified when they saw the object under Wu Hohat's pillow knocked 2 people unconscious. No one dared to help me. They all believed something supernatural was at work. That's exactly the effect I wanted, hauling the cart while wailing at the top of my lungs. When we reached a steep section with no one around, I stopped and pushed the cart downhill. I watched Wu Ho-hot tumble off the cart and plunge into the ditch below. I jumped down after her, picked up a rock, and smashed it hard into Wu Ho-hot's leg as she lay unconscious. Didn't Wu Ho-hot love faking a limp? Then I'll make it real for her. She'll never leave that bed again. Wu Ho-hot's legs were a mangled mess, barely attached by shreds of flesh. I tore at my hair, smeared her blood on myself, and wailed my way up the ravine screaming for help. Villagers from the nearby settlement heard my cries for help and rushed over to assist me in getting Wu Ho-hot to the hospital. Wu Ho-hot had broken both legs in the ravine fall, and the doctors made the immediate decision to amputate. I kept vigil outside the operating room all night, and when Wu Ho-hot was wheeled out legless, I broke down in tears before heading to the post office to send a telegram. Mother critically ill, return immediately. While sending the telegram, I also mailed a pre-written whistleblower letter to the military leadership. Wu Ho-hot woke on the third morning, her lips parched as she croaked, "Water." No one acknowledged her plea. Wu Ho-hot struggled to sit up, but found her lower body unresponsive. She felt like something fundamental was missing. She yanked the blanket aside and looked at her legs. The sight of two empty trouser legs made Wu Ho-hot scream in horror. I pushed the door open and entered amidst her piercing screams. "Awake! My legs! Where are my legs? Gu Ching Ching! Tell me, where are my legs? Didn't your leg break long ago? Have you forgotten?" I reminded her. "No, my legs were fine. They were perfectly fine. How could they just disappear overnight? Mom, are you confused? Your leg was broken long ago, when Mubai was still home. Everyone knows that." "No, I'm not," Wu Ho-hot said through pain and frustration. "I had both legs before, now they're gone." "Oh, you're asking why you lost both your legs." I picked up Wu Ho-hot's thread. "It's a long story. That day when you were bedridden and starving, I made you egg noodles. After eating them, you fell unconscious, scared out of my wits. I rushed you to the hospital on a flatbed cart. Then I slipped and fell into a ditch. Your already injured legs happened to smash against the rocks. The doctors said amputation was the only way to save your life, so that's how you lost your legs." "You, what did you say?" "You, what about me? Wondering why I'm unharmed. I find it strange too. Maybe all my good deeds paid off. Divine protection, you see." I watched Wu Ho-hot's priceless expression with amusement before slowly speaking. "Mom, why have you been so unlucky lately? First you broke your leg in the yard, then got a butt full of glass shards. Did you do something terrible to offend the heavens?" I overheard some patients' relatives saying cases like yours are always karmic retribution for wrongdoing. Wu Ho-hot was fuming. "That's bullshit." I smiled. "You've every right to be angry, Mom. I don't believe in karma either, only coincidences. You know, all that glass in your butt was just a coincidence. Actually, I paused before speaking slowly. "I broke some glass bottles that day and swept the shards over there without cleaning them up. Never thought you'd be so unlucky as to fall right onto those exact fragments I left. What a terrible twist of fate." Wu Ho-hot pointed a trembling finger at me, trying to speak, but before she could get the words out, she passed out from sheer shock. Sumubai arrived 2 days later, covered in dust from his hurried journey, staring at Wu Ho-hot lying legless in the hospital bed. Sumubai was utterly dumbstruck. How could this happen? How could this happen? Wu Ho-hot saw Sumubai's return as if spotting a savior. "Son, it's all her doing, that vicious woman's scheme. She's the one who cost me my leg." "Mom, what exactly are you implying? Why on earth would I want to harm you?" I protested loudly in self-defense. "The whole village has seen how I've treated you, haven't they? Everyone can testify what kind of life I've lived these 6 years and how much I've sacrificed for this family. You can't just slander me because you accidentally broke your own leg." Sumubai also eyed Wu Ho-hot suspiciously as she shrieked. She admitted it, said she deliberately put broken glass there to make me fall. Sumubai's expression darkened. "Is this true?" "Yes," I nodded, seeing my straightforward admission. Wu Ho-hot pointed at me furiously. "That vicious woman tried to kill me with broken glass and broke my leg. She wants me dead." "Mubai, call the police right now. Have them arrest her. I'll make sure she rots in jail." "Mom, calm down. I'll handle calling the police, but before they get here, there's something I need to ask you." I pulled something from my pocket and placed it before Wu Ho-hot. "Mom, I found this under your pillow." "What is it? Do you know?" Wu Ho-hot's face paled. "And no, I don't know. I asked the doctor, and he said this seems to be some kind of anesthetic. Just inhaling it can knock you unconscious." "Mom, why would you keep this under your pillow?" Wu Ho-hot couldn't respond, and Sumubai's face darkened. I pressed further. "If you hadn't put this under your pillow, you wouldn't have passed out. I wouldn't have panicked and taken you to the doctor. And we wouldn't have fallen into that ditch." which led to your leg being so badly broken it had to be amputated. This thing ruined you. I sighed. You're not the only victim. Others in the village slept for ages after smelling it too. They think it's some kind of dark magic and suspect you're behind it. They're about to call the police. That's why I got Mubai to come home. Now he's here. And I brought the stuff. Just say the word, and I'll report it for you. Neither Wu Hohat dared to report to the police, nor did Su Mubai, though Wu Hohat kept nagging to Su Mubai that I was the one who harmed her. But Su Mubai didn't believe it. Perhaps part of him wanted to, yet he couldn't bring himself to. After all, I loved him so deeply. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him. How could I possibly harm his mother? What good would it do me to harm his mother? Su Mubai's current concern is how Wu Hohat, now without legs, will survive in the future. He only lasted a few days caring for Wu Hohat in the hospital before he couldn't take it anymore. After all, a bedridden patient needs help with everything. With Su Mubai as her biological son present, there's naturally nothing left for an outsider like me to do. I claimed to be too ill to get out of bed and dumped all the dirty work of tending to bodily needs on Su Mubai. Su Mubai wanted to fulfill his filial duties, but dealing with human waste was more than most could stomach. Of course Su Mubai loved Wu Hohat. After all, she was his mother, yet now he found her utterly repulsive. They say no child remains dutiful by a long-sick parent's bedside. He couldn't bear changing Wu Hohat's bedpans. He needed an old servant to tend to her without complaint for life. His first thought was me. Su Mubai approached me. Ching, I'm joining the military soon. Really, who'll care for your mother then? I countered. With my mother in this state, I'm truly at my wit's end. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to bear with this. He was waiting for me to respond with my usual understanding, saying something like, it's no trouble at all. This is what I should do. I'll take good care of your mother so you can focus on work. Su Mubai was certain I'd give him that understanding response, offering my support as always, but I just kept my head down, packing my belongings. After 6 years of marriage to Su Mubai, my personal possessions were pitifully few. There were only 3 or 4 patched garments, nothing else to speak of. I folded and unfolded the clothes right in front of Su Mubai. Why should I bother taking these rags with me? I've got money to buy new clothes now, so I'm leaving these old ones behind. I threw the old clothes on the ground right in front of Su Mubai. Su Mubai was startled. He'd been anxiously waiting for my response. Seeing me toss the clothes, he panicked. Thinking I was mad at him, he immediately started making empty promises. After I join the military, I'll send you my entire paycheck and only keep a small amount for myself. When my mother grows old, you can come live with me on base. Ching. I'll be forever grateful and cherish you all my life. Hearing Su Mubai's tender words, I lifted my head. Really, do you swear? I swear. May I die a terrible death if I ever lie to you. Su Mubai reached for my hand while swearing an oath, but I dodged his grasp. Then I'll be waiting to see you meet a terrible end. What did you say? Su Mubai stared at me in shock. Didn't you swear you'd die horribly if you ever deceived me? Su Mubai, don't pretend you don't know what's going on between you and Lu Xiaoya. There's nothing between Lu Xiaoya and me. I just pity her. Oh really? Then tell me, who's the father of Lu Xiaoya's baby? Su Mubai fell silent. I smiled sweetly. I heard Lu Xiaoya is your legally wedded wife. In that case, why don't you ask her to come take care of your mother? What do you need me for? We're practically strangers, aren't we? No, that's not how it is. Su Mubai tried to explain, but words failed him. Just as Lu Xiaoya returned with their son, exhaustion written all over her face, she burst into tears while dragging her son Dashu by the hand through the door. Mubai, the military unit received a whistleblower letter. They've deported me and Dashu back here. Su Mubai stared at Lu Xiaoya in shock. What whistleblower letter? I don't know either. They just kicked us out of the barracks. They won't let me stay there anymore, and said you'll be disciplined soon too. Hearing this news, I let out a gleeful laugh. Serves them right. Su Mubai turned at the sound of my laughter. I stood up. I sent that anonymous report. I know about your affair with Lu Xiaoya, so I wrote to the military authorities. I even got the village secretary to provide documentation proving our relationship. You, how dare you? Su Mubai trembled with rage. I laughed heartily at his ashen face. Since you're so fond of Lu Xiaoya, Su Mubai, so eager for her to bear your child, I'll gladly step aside. Then I turned to Lu Xiaoya. You'll have your hands full with Wu Hohat now. TSK. Quite the workload, carrying a baby while nursing a legless cripple in bed. Disgusting. Really, what do you mean? Who's paralyzed? Wu Hohat is paralyzed. How's that possible? Wasn't she faking it? Lu Xiaoya blurted out. I chuckled. She wasn't faking, she really lost her legs. Lu Xiaoya wore an expression too complex for words, while I clapped my hands in delight. Congratulations to you and Sumubai for finally getting legally married. Thanks for taking on Sue's whole family burden. Just a heads up, he got fired and has no income now, so don't expect any fancy living. Your life's gonna be tough, especially since Sue's drowning in debt. I'd forced Sumubai to take loans, a trap I set long ago. He'd already blown all his money on Lu Xiaoya, plus Wu Hohat's fake amputation scam. Serves him right. Once jobless Sumubai returns to the countryside, he'll learn earning money is like climbing to heaven. God knows when he'll ever pay back that mountain of debt, but the real kicker is they'll have to care for Wu Hohat bedridden and incontinent. My words drained the color from Lu Xiaoya and Sumubai's faces, chuckling to myself. I didn't turn back until reaching the doorway. Oh. One more thing you should know. Ever wonder why I couldn't conceive in 6 years of marriage? Sumubai reflexively asked. Why? Because you're sterile. Don't tell me you actually think Lu Xiaoya's baby is yours. I burst into raucous laughter. Of course not. That child belongs to the village good-for-nothing Ma Shower. I saw them sneaking into the mountain cave together with my own eyes. With that, I walked away laughing hysterically. Truth be told, I've no idea if there's any connection between Lu Xiaoya's baby and that layabout Ma Shower, but seeing them disappear into that cave together, that part's absolutely true. Under these circumstances, I won't hold back. When dealing with enemies, you hit them where it hurts most. With the money I reclaimed from Sumubai, I headed south to begin my grueling struggle for survival. My days of wandering out in the world were bittersweet. I'm someone who can endure hardship and isn't afraid of hard work. When the winds of reform and opening up swept across the nation, I was among the first to ride the wave of prosperity. My clothing business flourished beyond expectations. I successfully leased over a dozen storefronts, bought a spacious house, drove a nice car, and married a wonderful man. Time flew by in a blink, and suddenly my child was already 12 years old. I hosted my son's 12th birthday at an upscale restaurant in Shenzhen. Never expected to run into an old acquaintance here. Lu Xiaoya, now aged beyond recognition, was working as a cleaner while I strutted down the hallway in stilettos with my perfectly curled waves. As Lu Xiaoya looked up from vacuuming the carpet, our eyes locked. Her face froze in shock. You, Gu Qingqing became rich. How's that even possible? I stared indifferently at Lu Xiaoya, her back hunched and hair streaked with white. Her eyes burned with hatred as she spat. Found yourself a sugar daddy, haven't you? Look at how you're dressed. Must be selling yourself. No other way you'd have this kind of money. Not everyone's as pathetic as you. I sneered. I can survive without men. But you, this is what you've become without one. This is all your fault. If not for you, Sumubai and I would have settled down in the military by now, living well. You vicious, shameless bitch, you crippled Wu Hohat. Ruined Sumubai's career, and planted thorns in his heart. Lu Xiaoya screamed at me furiously. This is all your fault. Because of your nonsense. Sumubai suspects the child in my belly isn't his. He kept saying my baby had eyes like Ma Shower. He always doubted my relationship with Ma Shower, so when he got drunk, he dropped my child to its death. I simply said, oh, that's unfortunate. How can you be so heartless? Do you have any idea what I've been through? Beating and cursing me was his daily routine. He forced me to wait hand and foot on that wretched old hag Wu Hohat, cleaning her piss and shit. The slightest complaint from me would earn me a beating. Lu Xiaoya wiped her tears. He said if you could do these things, why couldn't I? When he was with you, he secretly fooled around with me behind your back, but after you left, he couldn't stop talking about how wonderful you were. So why don't you just leave him? Can't survive without a man. I sneered. You think I don't want to? I have children. I can't just walk away like you. Lu Xiaoya roared. This is all your fault. That bastard Sumubai killed one of my children and crippled the other. When they executed him, he left me with this godforsaken mess. Really, how tragic for you. I mocked with a cold laugh, devoid of any sympathy. I'm a mother. I could never abandon my child. Raising a disabled kid means no man would ever accept me. All these years I've been struggling just to put food on the table. Seeing me suffer like this must bring you such joy, doesn't it? I answered with brutal honesty. Absolutely thrilled. May your misery last forever, this lifetime and every one after. I walked away in my stilettos without looking back. Lu Xiaoya's enraged screams chasing after me. Pathetic tantrums. Nothing to fear. Story 2. The earthquake struck. I was left paralyzed from the neck down after saving my boyfriend Lu Zhou. Yet he turned around and married my hypocritical stepsister. As they walked down the aisle together, I was being tortured to death by a sadistic caretaker. When I opened my eyes again, I'd been reborn on the day of the earthquake. Watching Lu Zhou desperately begging for my help, I turned away without hesitation. Drop dead, you scumbag. 1. Xia Xia. Help me, Lu Zhou stood before me, his feet trapped beneath the boulders. I snapped back to reality as the crumbling ruins and relentless collapse sounds around me made one thing clear: I'd been reborn at the very beginning of this nightmare, in my past life. To save Lu Zhou, I recklessly charged back into the collapsing ruins. When the ceiling came crashing down, I shielded him with my own body. That was the outcome. I was crushed alive and left permanently paralyzed from the neck down. Yet Lu Zhou escaped with only minor injuries. Aftermath. He knelt by my hospital bed, swearing to stay by my side forever. Then he turned around and married my adopted sister. My parents gradually gave up on their disabled daughter too, pouring all their hopes and affection into their adopted child, leaving me alone to be tormented by caretakers until death. Xia xia, save me please. Lu Zhou's desperate screams continued to echo. Meanwhile, the ground shook violently as buildings crumbled one after another. Such was the scene unfolding before them. I turned decisively and sprinted towards safety. Scumbag, you're on your own now. Without my life-risking protection, there's no way Lu Zhou could come to a good end. When I saw Lu Zhou again, he'd already been given a critical condition notice by the hospital, and only survived after multiple emergency resuscitations, of course, barely alive, both legs amputated due to compound fractures, face disfigured by blunt force trauma, with high probability of becoming vegetative upon hearing the news. I nearly choked myself trying not to burst out laughing. What a scumbag, serves you right. Out in the open, I was sobbing my heart out, utterly devastated, played the part of the devoted girlfriend perfectly. I also notified Lu Zhou's parents to come help transfer him back to another hospital. The earthquake hit a tourist county town, nestled deep in the mountains with poor transportation access. Lu Zhou is now critically ill. Returning to the city would better aid his recovery, too. Upon witnessing Lu Zhou's dire condition, Lu's parents were utterly devastated, collapsing from grief multiple times. They spared no expense to bring in top specialists for consultation, yet the outcome remained unchanged. Lu Zhou was condemned to live as a cripple for the rest of his days, but that wasn't all. He even lost the most basic reproductive functions. Yeah, right, with his genitals smashed to pulp. No way that thing's still functional. Upon hearing this, Old Man Lu's vision went black as he collapsed with a thud. The Lu family was wealthy and influential, yet their lineage remained sparse, leaving Lu Zhou as their sole heir. With Lu Zhou in this state, it meant the Lu family line would end with him. That very night, the Lu couple went hand in hand to inquire about IVF procedures. This behavior was all too familiar to me. That's just how people are. The heartache is real, but it won't last forever. They'll find another emotional anchor and substitute. After I ruined my previous life, my parents stayed silent at first, but eventually adopted the diligent and bright Lin Shui as their goddaughter to ease their empty nest loneliness. She was diligent, intelligent, beautiful, and sensible, the perfect embodiment of the daughter my parents had always envisioned. So much so that in the end, when Lu Zhou insisted on marrying her, my parents gave their silent consent. They poured all their love into Lin Shui, along with everything that had once been mine. In the beginning, I didn't blame Lin Shui, but later, through Lin Shui's repeated provocations and schemes, I finally saw her true colors. She often visits me in the hospital, but always ends up running out in tears. When asked, she'd only say, "Don't blame my sister, it's my own fault for being unlikable. I stole what belonged to her, I deserve all this." 3. She'd even flaunt how much Lu Zhou adored her. She forced me to look through all their intimate photos together. The more distraught I became, the more it delighted her. As for Lu Zhou, the man I saved at the cost of my own life, he tacitly approved all of this too. What's worse, I learned it was his idea for my parents to adopt a goddaughter, and Lin Shui, he personally brought her to meet my parents. That's when I started suspecting whether those two had been carrying on behind my back. But I lacked the means to investigate further, and this time I'll expose every hidden conspiracy to the light. After leaving the hospital, I drove home. Seeing me return safely, my parents breathed sighs of relief. Just like Lu Zhou, I'm the only child in my family. Otherwise, Lin Shui wouldn't have had the chance to steal the nest. Mom, Dad, even though Lu Zhou's a lost cause now, I won't abandon him. I want to keep taking care of him. We'll figure everything out once he comes to. The moment these words were spoken, a faint smile appeared on my father's face as he nodded repeatedly. Our family and the Lu family have been close friends for generations. It wouldn't be right to abandon Lu Zhou at a time like this. Our daughter's grown up. It's time she took over the family business. My father's gaze grew increasingly approving. In his eyes, I was his pride and joy. Though a daughter, I excelled academically and showed remarkable wisdom beyond my years. I also had a natural flair for business. Among all the privileged heirs, I always stood out effortlessly. That's why he couldn't bear the reality of me becoming disabled. He was willing to spend everything to groom Lin Shui as my replacement, just to reclaim his pride. In my father's eyes, pride was indispensable to him. But I wasn't the only one who could bring him that pride. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Zhou still hadn't regained consciousness, yet I visited him punctually every day, tending to him with meticulous care. 4. His parents were deeply moved by my unwavering devotion, showering me with generous gifts both openly and discreetly. As for me, I never turn anyone away. Absolutely, I didn't get these things for free. Seeing how haggard and lifeless old Lu and his wife looked broke my heart, so the next day, I took them to the orphanage. Uncle, Auntie, won't you adopt one? With my most earnest and sincere gaze, they froze in their tracks, stunned beyond words. I knew exactly what was going through their minds: shock, confusion, bewilderment, but there was definitely no refusal. I've already looked into it thoroughly. The Lu couple's IVF dreams were shattered. Their age made them ineligible candidates. They nearly cried their eyes out over this. They've already started quietly inquiring about adopting orphans. What choice do we have but to adopt? All those cousins of old Lu's have their eyes on his fortune. Better that than leaving it to these vultures. Might as well raise another obedient and manageable one. At least they'd show some respect. The only concern was, worried Lu Zhou might wake up and cause trouble. Plus adopting now would seem downright heartless. But now none of that matters anymore. Because you've got me now, uncle and aunt. Please don't turn me away. I'm speaking not just for myself, but for Lu Zhou too. Lu Zhou was such a devoted son. How could he bear to see you grow old alone with no one to care for you? With reddened eyes, I dragged Mr. and Mrs. Lu straight into the orphanage. They kept saying this won't do half-heartedly. Their eyes had already been captured by a group of lively, adorable children. Their gazes gradually filled with tenderness and anticipation. The excuses died on their lips. Eventually, they started discussing with me which child was the most well-behaved and sensible. 5. After a whole morning of careful selection, the two went home contentedly with a thick stack of materials to study. Everything was settled quickly. The Lu family eventually adopted a 6-year-old boy, naming him Lu Tianxi. For this occasion, they held a rather grand adoption ceremony. Many prominent aristocratic families were invited to attend. On the day of the banquet, some insinuated that the Lu parents were heartless and unfeeling, already considering adopting outsiders before their own son had even passed. Utterly unfit to be parents, I fired back without hesitation. Shut up, you don't understand anything. It was all my idea for uncle and aunt to do this. As Lu Zhou's girlfriend, it's my duty to care for his parents in his absence. Seeing them so heartbroken tears me apart. Rather than living like this, adopting a child would help them heal faster. If Lu Zhou wakes up, he'd absolutely support my decision. I spoke with righteous indignation and resounding conviction. Mr. and Mrs. Lu on stage immediately welled up with tears, unable to stop themselves from bowing their heads to wipe their eyes. I'll hold the fort. The subsequent proceedings went remarkably smoothly. As I was leaving, Mrs. Lu pulled me aside and stuffed multiple sets of keys and property deeds into my arms. The total value easily exceeded hundreds of millions. On the way back, then something unexpected happened. A girl suddenly darted out into the road and blocked our car head-on. The terrified driver slammed on the brakes. The momentum sent me and my parents lurching violently forward. After finally catching our breath, I stepped out of the car. Seeing the girl's youthful yet vaguely familiar face, I smiled. Lin Shui, long time no see. At that moment, Lin Shui noticed me getting out of the vehicle. He seemed utterly stunned, eyes widening in disbelief before blurting out, "Zhou Xia, what are you doing here? Weren't you paralyzed from the neck down?" 6. The words hung in the air. Uncle Wang, the driver, immediately frowned and shooed Lin Shui away, grumbling in annoyance. Where did this lunatic come from? Blocking the car and cursing our young mistress. What a nutcase. But Lin Shui refused to back down. She shook off Uncle Wang, dashed to the front of the car, and began frantically pounding on the window, shouting, "Mom, Dad, it's me, Xiaoxue, your adopted daughter. Don't you recognize me anymore? Come down and see me." My parents were utterly terrified, staring in complete bewilderment at Lin Shui's frenzied behavior, completely clueless about what she was trying to pull. I saw Uncle Wang restraining Lin Shui. My mom hurriedly got out of the car, grabbed me, and we dashed back inside, panting as we ran. She kept saying, "Xiaoxia, run, there's a lunatic here." Lin Shui was utterly devastated by those words, her eyes welling up with tears, desperately making her last stand. She kept recounting those heartwarming moments and happy memories with my parents. What a pity. All this just earned me my mother calling me a lunatic, when had Lin Shui, the apple of my mother's eye who was coddled beyond measure in her past life, ever been treated this way. Even after the car had driven quite a distance away, Lin Shui's heart-wrenching sobs could still faintly be heard. My parents simply brushed off the incident, they just thought they'd met some lunatic, but I saw right through it. Lin Shui was also reborn, just like me. She retained memories from her past life, following the course of our previous lives. Right about now, Lu Zhou should be bringing her to meet my parents for the first time, but now, everything has changed. It's Lu Zhou lying half dead on the hospital bed. No one's pulling strings for her anymore. 7. The news of Lu Zhou's disability was tightly controlled by the Lu family. As a poor student, Lin Shui had no way of uncovering the truth. That's why she panicked. She even resorted to stopping their car just to get back on my parents' radar. Just a few days later, the investigative report on Lu Zhou and Lin Shui was completed, a hefty stack of documents. It meticulously documented the secret romantic affair between the two. It all began 2 years ago. That's when these two first met. A successful entrepreneur from a wealthy family, and a resilient beauty with an iron will, they hit it off almost instantly. Back when Lu Zhou was still dating me, he put on this loving couple act while secretly cheating on me like there was no tomorrow. Lu Zhou was trying to push Lin Shui into my place, but let's face it, no matter how clever and charming this Cinderella was, the Lu family would never accept someone like her. That's why in my past life, after I became disabled, he swiftly arranged for Lin Shui to replace me under the pretense of filial piety toward my parents. What a perfect arrangement for his beloved. Here's the kicker. This had been planned a whole year prior. Lu Zhou had already arranged for Lin Shui to gradually emulate and learn my mannerisms and personality. She could even perfectly replicate many of my business ideas and creative sparks. Reading this, it suddenly struck me, even without my life-saving act during the earthquake, Lu Zhou would have schemed to plant Lin Shui into my household, of course, provided they staged some accident to kill or cripple me, but I'm in no hurry to expose their affair or seek revenge on Lin Shui. After all, there's plenty of time. After all the torment I endured in my past life, how could they possibly escape theirs? 2 weeks later, news came from the hospital. Lu Zhou regained consciousness. 8. At that time, I was having tea with Mrs. Lu at the Lu residence, and had brought some small toys for Lu Tianxi. As for Mrs. Lu, when she heard the news, her surprise was tinged with a hint of guilt. She held Lu Tianxi tightly in her arms, speechless for quite some time. Yeah, after all, Lu Zhou had been unconscious for so long that even the doctors had lost hope. He was destined to remain in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. Never imagined he'd actually wake up. Auntie, don't worry. Lu Zhou is a filial son, he'll understand your difficult position. Besides, Tianxi is such a sweet and sensible child, he's bound to adore him. Leave everything to me. Only after I'd reassured her did Mrs. Lu hurry off to the hospital. The truth speaks for itself. Anyone would lose it upon realizing they've been replaced by their parents' new backup child. Absolute madness. The hospital room descended into chaos beyond my worst expectations. Lu Zhou went berserk, smashing everything within reach, his pallid face twisted with fury. You're all monsters. That bastard child was brought home before I'm even cold in my grave. The Lu family belongs to me. No one shall take it. This terrified old master and Madame Lu, especially their newly reunited son Lu Tianxi. The poor child had never witnessed such a scene before. Though frightened himself, the boy stood his ground and shielded his parents with his small frame. Don't be scared, Mom and Dad. Tianxi will protect you. In that instant, tears of emotion welled up in their eyes. After hastily giving a few instructions, they strode off with Lu Tianxi in tow. The receding figure radiated cold determination. As for Lu Zhou, he was utterly dumbfounded. He simply couldn't comprehend how this newly adopted brat had so swiftly usurped his position. The reason is quite simple. It's all because of Lu Tianxi. Absolutely brilliant. 9. Not only is he linguistically gifted, but he became fluent in English almost immediately after starting to learn. Her artistic talent was extraordinary. Just casually playing piano at the adoption banquet earned continuous praise from master musicians. She was even accepted as a protégé on the spot. She could grasp 5th grade material as a first grader, acing every test with perfect scores. She'd long been the prodigy everyone marveled at in academic circles. During this period, he's been bringing nothing but honor to the Lu family. By contrast, that crippled Lu Zhou, who could do nothing but vent his impotent rage on others. This is utterly disappointing. Lu Zhou, can't you be more sensible? Do you have any idea how many tears your uncle and aunt have shed for you? How long they've been suffering? I was the only one left behind. my face full of disappointment, righteously rebuked. They've suffered so much. If they hadn't adopted Tianxi, they might not have made it through. Do you actually want them to die? I snapped furiously. Slammed the door and stormed out. Lu Zhou's anguished screams soon echoed from the hospital room. I stood outside the door. After listening with my eyes closed for a few minutes, I instantly felt refreshed and clear-headed. Don't blame me for being ruthless. After all, these were the exact things Lu Zhou did to me in our past life. When I woke up in the hospital bed, there they were, my parents with Lin Shui, looking like the perfect little family while I stood there feeling like an outsider. And then there was Lu Zhou. Seeing my sullen expression, he immediately launched into a lecture without even asking why, accusing me of being petty and unfilial. Rejecting Lin Shui would be forcing my parents to their graves. My heart was torn between anxiety and anguish. That's not true. My facial nerves were damaged. I've lost the ability to show any expression. But no one would listen to my explanation. Lu Zhou even dragged my parents away on the spot, told me to cool off by myself. Did anyone ever care about my heartbreak and breakdown? 10. At least Lu Zhou can still speak and move, with some mobility in his upper body, but in my past life, I was completely paralyzed from the neck down. I couldn't move a single muscle except for my eyes and mouth. My suffering compared to Lu Zhou's was no less than his. After I left, Lu Zhou kept making scenes for days on end. At first, Mr. and Mrs. Lu still had affection for their son, but Lu Zhou couldn't control his temper, constantly berating and mocking Lu Tianxi. Over time, even his parents grew disappointed with him. They didn't even bother going to the hospital, claiming it was to give Lu Zhou ample time to cool off, let him rest undisturbed. They even instructed the hospital and caregivers to turn away all visitors, all to prevent Lu Zhou from spouting nonsense and tarnishing the Lu family's reputation. As for me, I'm the sole exception. After all, I'd already infiltrated the Lu family's inner circle. Not only did Mr. and Mrs. Lu treat me like their own daughter, even Lu Tianxi showed me extraordinary affection, kept calling me sister nonstop. Mrs. Lu held my hand and said repeatedly, "Shasha dear, when things settle down, I'll officially adopt you as my goddaughter. You're such a good girl, I understand everything, we all know the truth." With Lu Zhou's circumstances, marriage is completely out of the question for him. As an heiress from a wealthy family, why would I waste my life waiting on him? What I've done already goes above and beyond. Mrs. Lu took the initiative to formally adopt me as her goddaughter. This not only preserved our existing bond but strengthened it further, while also preventing potential complications down the road. In the following days, I made daily hospital visits like clockwork, didn't say another word before leaving, launched into a scathing critique of Lu Zhou, accusing him of being petty-minded and lacking vision. After the verbal onslaught, turned on their heel and walked away. 11. Back and forth it went. Lu Zhou completely broke down. After exhausting every means, he bribed the nurses to contact someone, Lin Shui, his precious darling. After Lin Shui received the message, she rushed over without a moment's delay. At the sight of Lu Zhou's disfigured and disabled body on the hospital bed, she covered her mouth in shock, tears streaming uncontrollably. "Ah Zhou, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me like this." Lin Shui never expected things to turn out this way. Didn't I risk my life to protect Lu Zhou? How did things end up like this? It's all that bitch Zhou Xia's fault. She just ran off and left me. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have gotten smashed up like this. After hearing Lu Zhou's explanation, Lin Shui stood frozen for a long moment before realizing where things had gone wrong. Then Lin Shui recounted everything about her rebirth and her previous life. The two of them spent quite some time reviewing the events, finally came to the bitter conclusion through gritted teeth, their current plight is all my fault. Why didn't I risk my life to go back and save Lu Zhou? It's all because I'm too selfish. They're coming for revenge, to reclaim everything they've lost. And me, watching this unfold on the surveillance feed, I couldn't help but sigh repeatedly, just as I thought. Trashy men and cheap women deserve each other for a reason. They're equally shameless. Soon enough, Lu Zhou sprang into action. Gone was his usual, replaced by an unexpected calm and maturity. When I arrived, he even managed a faint smile, as if nothing had ever happened between us. Seeing him like this, Mr. and Mrs. Lu's hearts eventually softened, and they began visiting him at the hospital regularly, of course, and their precious youngest son, Lu Tianxi. Parents do love to brag about their children's achievements. The conversation always seems to veer off track after just a few sentences. 12. Xiao Zhou. This Tianxi kid is really bright. He aced his exams again yesterday, and even had the thoughtfulness to cook for us when he got home. Don't you worry, once Tianxi makes something of himself, he'll take good care of you. Every time this happened, Lu Zhou's face would turn all shades of purple. Grinding his teeth to stop himself from cursing out loud, outwardly praising Lu Tianxi along with everyone else, secretly wishing they could skin Lu Tianxi alive. A month later, Lu Zhou finally reached his breaking point. He blurted out his idea without hesitation. Mom, Dad, I want to marry Xiaxia. I know I'm a good-for-nothing and shouldn't hold Xiaxia back, but I truly love her, and she loves me too. I know Xiaxia would never abandon me. After Lu Zhou spoke, everyone fell silent. When no one backed him up, Lu Zhou gritted his teeth and threatened to kill himself if they didn't agree, especially when they saw me walk in. They dragged me off to force a marriage registration, even picking the date themselves. A crowd quickly gathered at the entrance. People were whispering and pointing, some even live-streaming the whole thing. They kept blabbering that Lu Zhou got injured like this solely to save me. The insinuation was clear. If I refused to marry Lu Zhou, I'd be heartless and ungrateful. Lu Zhou really upped his acting game, suddenly pulling out a knife and pressing it against his own throat. Xia, I saved you of my own free will. I won't make things difficult for you. Don't worry, I'll just go die right now. At this sight, the onlookers all started berating me. What a heartless woman, she's utterly shameless. What's the big deal about getting married? What's wrong with saying yes? He did save her life after all. As the situation and public opinion grew increasingly heated and out of control, Lu's father, who had remained silent until now, suddenly rushed forward. 13. He snatched the knife from Lu Zhou's hand and shouted angrily, "Enough, your mother and I have officially adopted Xiaxia as our goddaughter. From now on, you two are siblings in all but blood. Put that filthy idea out of your head for good." It finally dawned on Father Lu. Lu Zhou had this planned all along. His recent calm and sensible act was just to trick them into withdrawing all the guards, all for this ambush today. No need to guess. That crowd of spectators outside was probably Lu Zhou's doing too. Right after that, Mother Lu added salt to the wound with bitter disappointment. "My son, not only are you crippled, but you've lost your manhood too, and you insist on marrying Xiaxia. You're just ruining her life. Any woman who marries you would be doomed to a lifetime of loneliness." At this moment, the onlookers suddenly realized the truth. The poor guy lost his manhood, so he's a eunuch. What's the point of getting married in that condition? What a bloody disgrace. Now that's what I call decent parents. They actually care about the girl's well-being. Lu Zhou's face darkened like charcoal, his fists clenched with a livid expression. "I feel like dying from shame. For a man, having such things discussed in broad daylight is nothing but a total humiliation." The most infuriating part, it was his own mother who spilled the beans. Who the hell could take this? The court of public opinion was clearly leaning one way. Someone immediately stepped forward to defend Lu Zhou, speaking with righteous indignation. "Not getting married is fine. At the very least, Lu Zhou saved this woman's life and got injured in the process. Is it too much to ask for some compensation? At the very least, half the family fortune should go to them." As for Lu Zhou, he met my gaze with a shadowy smirk. 14. Lu Zhou clearly took advantage of the earthquake's chaos. No surveillance, no witnesses. To brazenly spin this lie about saving my life, he struck first to gain the upper hand. Even if I deny it, they'll think I'm just being stubborn. Either way, he comes out on top. Lu Zhou seized the moment, even claiming that when I fainted from shock, he heroically carried me to safety. He himself lost the chance to escape. The heartfelt words brought tears to everyone's eyes. But the next moment, a swarm of reporters burst through the door and rushed toward me. "Miss Zhou, may I have a quick interview with you? You bravely rescued multiple people at the disaster site. What are your thoughts on this experience? Miss Zhou, will you be attending the citywide awards ceremony honoring your heroic actions?" The entire room fell into awkward silence, with everyone exchanging confused glances. A journalist couldn't take it anymore and turned on the TV. Nearly every channel was covering the same story. "All about me." #young woman rushes into disaster zone multiple times, heroically saves over a dozen trapped civilians. #. Rescued survivors post thank you videos honoring the brave young woman. #. The hero who saved lives turns out to be the daughter of our city's prominent entrepreneur. Wait. Right next to the series of red headlines were my on-site photos and videos. In the video, I dashed forward with lightning speed, leveraging my knowledge of the terrain while barely considering my own safety. Time and again I ventured deep into the disaster zone, carrying people in my arms and on my back to rescue over a dozen survivors. Even when covered in blood myself, I never faltered for a second. This continued until the rescue troops arrived. I slipped away quietly. The footage is grainy, taken from the only surviving surveillance camera at the scene. At this very moment, All eyes instinctively turned to Lu Zhou, 15, it's obvious to anyone with eyes. Do I really need his help like this? And another thing, didn't he say I passed out from the start? Who's that sprinting like the wind in the video? A damn ghost or something? Lu Zhou stood speechless, fists clenched and face dark as thunder. After what felt like forever, he finally choked out, maybe I remembered wrong. The moment these words were spoken, the entire room erupted in uproar. Mr. and Mrs. Lu were so furious they couldn't lift their heads, wishing they could beat this ungrateful wretch to death on the spot. On the way home, I checked my phone. Just as I expected, the internet was flooded with nothing but scathing criticism and mockery of Lu Zhou's shamelessness. The whole incident in the hospital room was live-streamed. The people Lu Zhou hired had already shut down the live stream when things went south. But my crew wouldn't do that. I even bought extra bandwidth specifically to capture this moment. Damn right, I'm fully aware of all Lu Zhou's schemes. The ward surveillance cameras aren't just for decoration. Every twist today unfolded exactly as I anticipated. Lu's parents will back me up. It's inevitable. Our friendship played a part, but so did me exposing Lu Zhou's scheme. This time it wasn't just about targeting me. Lu Zhou also secretly sold the Lu family's confidential documents to competitors. This is how they planned to get back at Lu's parents. In this situation, Lu's parents probably wanted to strangle Lu Zhou themselves, let alone help me with such a trivial matter. As for rescuing people in the earthquake zone, all of this is absolutely true. After leaving Lu Zhou behind, I witnessed the disaster zone, crumbling walls, desperate screams everywhere. My heart ached. I remembered my past self, also an earthquake survivor, and understood that unspeakable agony, so I had to save them. I've trained in Sanda and have decent physical fitness, drawing from my past life memories. I gave everything to save people, stumbling and getting injured along the way, but never giving up. 16, I wouldn't wish the pain I've endured on anyone else. After the rescue, slipped away quietly. I'm no saint, I don't do good deeds anonymously. I just prefer to claim credit when it matters most, like right now. As for Lin Shui, she's probably cooling her heels at the police station waiting for someone to bail her out. After all, she was handpicked by Lu Zhou to steal the Lu family's confidential documents. Old man Lu is absolutely livid this time. I've already instructed my lawyer to reject any settlement offers. Their stance is absolutely uncompromising, given the nature of Lin Shui's crimes. Even if unsuccessful, a severe trial could still land her in prison. Frankly, I can't be bothered to dwell on these matters. In the coming days, I'm swamped. Interviews with TV stations and major satellite media, official program recordings, along with all sorts of company matters. Because of this incident involving me, our family company's stock has been riding the wave, with market value skyrocketing, and my father had long been prepared to step aside for more capable leadership. They're already preparing to gradually hand over the company to me. As for my mother, she's been busy attending banquets, basking in everyone's praises for me, grinning from ear to ear. But that wasn't all. To show his gratitude, Mr. Lu deliberately reclaimed all the shares from Lu Zhou's hands. They voluntarily gave me a portion of it, called it a gift for taking me as their goddaughter. Those peaceful days didn't last long. Then came news from the detention center. Lin Shui is pregnant. That's not the point. The real bombshell. Lin Shui swears the baby is Lu Zhou's. Lu's parents rushed to the scene in the dead of night. According to the doctor's diagnosis, Lin Shui is 4 months pregnant, and the fetus is developing perfectly. 4 months, that was right before the earthquake happened. 17, Lu's parents didn't believe it at first, but Lin Shui made it sound so convincing. She even produced solid evidence of her relationship with Lu Zhou. Seeing how adamant Lin Shui was, Lu's parents began to waver. As for Lu Zhou, he completely shed his usual despondency and gloom upon hearing the news, despite his frail condition. He insisted on rushing to care for Lin Shui. This look, anyone with eyes can see there's something going on between them. A paternity test would probably be overkill. The results came out quickly. The child in Lin Shui's womb is indeed Lu Zhou's, just like that. Lu's parents were both shocked and overjoyed, practically ready to treat Lin Shui like royalty. After all, this is the Lu family's one and only heir. With a child to secure her position, Lin Shui not only completely turned her life around, but also became outrageously arrogant. First, she complained about the hospital conditions and demanded to move into a luxury mansion. Then she developed a taste for designer clothes and handbags. The slightest inconvenience, and they're already threatening to end it all, threatening to take the unborn child down with her. Though disgusted, Lu's parents bit their tongues for the sake of their grandchild, but Lin Shui's demands clearly didn't stop there. She's getting married, not just registering the marriage, but throwing a grand wedding too. This really put Mr. and Mrs. Liu in a tight spot. Marriage. This marriage means the Liu family officially recognizes Lin Shui as their daughter-in-law. From now on, we'll be one family. But here's the thing, everyone knows it, I was Liu Zhou's girlfriend, and even though we ended on bad terms, judging by Lin Shui's pregnancy timeline, it's pretty obvious what happened. Liu Zhou cheated during our relationship. Let's call a spade a spade. Lin Shui was the other woman. Right now I'm at the peak of my fame and popularity. Then news breaks that I've been cheated on. Liu Zhou, Lin Shui, and the entire Liu family would probably get torn to shreds. 18. I was planning to delay this for a few more days. But Lin Shui wasn't having it. She couldn't care less about reputation or criticism. She'd had enough of this miserable life. In her past life, Liu Zhou had helped her marry into wealth. Now, she'd have to rely on herself. When Liu's parents remained silent, Lin Shui decided to go all the way. She directly posted a photo of herself with Liu Zhou online, with the caption, "True love stands the test of time, wedding countdown begins." By the time Liu's parents found out, it was already too late. Lin Shui's comment section had exploded. Netizens dug up photos of Lin Shui's prenatal checkups and medical records, even uncovering intimate pre-earthquake footage of her with Liu Zhou. The evidence of Liu Zhou's affair is now irrefutable. The internet has erupted in a storm of condemnation, yet none of this fazed Liu Zhou or Lin Shui in the slightest. What do two people already rotten to the core have left to fear? Lin Shui in particular even had the audacity to clap back at netizens. Homewrecker. The real third wheel is the one who isn't loved. Love doesn't follow a cue. We'll be happy together. Because these two acted first and reported later. Old Mr. and Mrs. Liu were so furious they nearly fainted. But what's done is done. After weighing the pros and cons, they ultimately agreed to Lin Shui's demands. They knew they'd face harsh criticism and even jeopardize the company, but they just couldn't hold back anymore. All for their precious grandson. They were willing to do absolutely anything, but that wasn't all. They even complied with Lin Shui's increasingly outrageous demands, like demanding all the gifted shares back from me, send the newly adopted Liu Tianxi back to the orphanage, and so on and so forth. The rest I couldn't care less about, but Liu Tianxi, after all we've been through together, I can't just stand by and watch him get abandoned again. 19. Despite my reasoned arguments, the Liu parents remained unmoved. Stubbornly clinging to their bloodline doctrine, they claimed they only adopted Liu Tianxi because they had no heir. Now that they've got their own grandson, of course an outsider isn't needed anymore. I laughed in bitter disbelief. Done with these ungrateful wretches, I took Liu Tianxi back to my place. To my relief, my parents welcomed Liu Tianxi warmly. The company's been handed over to me anyway, and it's not like they have anything better to do at home. Might as well keep an eye on Liu Tianxi while we're at it. Thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Liu's questionable maneuvers, Liu Corporation stocks took a nosedive. Internal divisions had long been brewing. Everyone thought old Liu was being utterly selfish, as if the company belonged to him alone. As chairman, how could he fail to set a proper example? Seizing the opportunity, old Liu's cousins exploited the situation, poaching quite a few key employees. Quite the opposite, my career has been flourishing. Netizens' outrage towards Liu Zhou and Lin Shui is only matched by their sympathy and indignation on my behalf. The number of people supporting me is beyond count. A week later, it was Liu Zhou and Lin Shui's wedding day. The Liu family spared no expense, having chosen to prioritize their grandson. They were now fully committed to this path, yet despite the extravagant arrangements, only a handful of people showed up. No self-respecting person would attend a cheater and his mistress's wedding. Rumor has it Lin Shui smashed her $1 million jade bracelet in fury afterward. As for Liu Zhou, they even messaged me directly to confront me. Zhou Xia, was this your doing? What's your problem? You actually enjoy humiliating me. Listen, I'll never love you in this lifetime. Mark my words, you'll pay for this someday. That cracked me up. 20. Came right back with, there's a difference between dreams and illusions. Did your parents give you that mouth just to bark nonsense? Maybe you should get your head checked. Blocked and deleted in a flash after saying that. 2 months later, I got the news. Lin Shui had a miscarriage. The fetus suddenly lost its heartbeat, and after failed resuscitation, they had to perform an induced delivery. Just like that, the Liu parents ended up with absolutely nothing to show for their efforts. For the sake of this child, they've completely lost face, offended so many people, and nearly got chewed out by the company executives. The two of them refused to accept it. They even started spinning conspiracy theories, suspecting I was getting back at them. They rigged it. I didn't say a word. I called the police right away, and the investigation naturally proved my innocence. The hospital confirmed it too. The the child had inherent genetic deficiencies that simply hadn't manifested until now. No one is to blame for this. The Liu parents completely broke down from the shock and were hospitalized with stress-related conditions. But upon their discharge, they discovered the company has changed hands. Liu's cousin had long seized the opportunity to win people over and aggressively bought up scattered shares, stripping Liu's father of his chairman position. After this incident, Liu's parents aged a decade overnight. The ordeal wasn't over yet. Now I had to deal with Liu Zhou and Lin Shui at the hospital. Ever since Lin Shui lost the baby, Liu Zhou had completely lost his mind. He alternated between beating and berating Lin Shui daily. Their screaming matches never ending. Back and forth it went. Liu's parents were utterly heartbroken. After leaving a sum of money, they simply vanished. As for Lin Shui, she completely lost herself after taking the money, hiring a random caretaker for Liu Zhou before washing her hands of the matter. And that caregiver, the very psychopath who tortured me to death in my past life. Later on, Liu Zhou died, just like my past self, tortured to death by that sadistic nurse. 21. He had complained to Lin Shui about it before, but Lin Shui simply brushed it off. She even scolded Liu Zhou for being oversensitive and acting like a spoiled brat. It wasn't until after Liu Zhou's death that the horrifying wounds on his body were discovered. The abusive orderly was thrown behind bars. As for Lin Shui, he died at home just a few days later. After the miscarriage, she became mentally unstable, developing both a gambling addiction and drug dependency. This time, the drug overdose proved instantly fatal. Such a tragedy occurred. Liu's parents finally decided to show up. After handling both Liu Zhou and Lin Shui's funeral arrangements, this time they weren't in a hurry to leave. Instead, they came to visit me, or rather, to see Liu Tianxi. All the sons and grandsons are dead. Finally remembered the adopted genius son from years past. They've grown old and suffered too many shocks. Blood ties stopped matching long ago. What a pity. Liu Tianxi is no longer with me. You two haven't heard yet, have you? Tianxi's birth parents have come for him. Tianxi is actually the youngest son of Asia's richest family. He only ended up in the orphanage after getting lost by accident. After I finished speaking, I made sure to show Mr. and Mrs. Liu the news report. #billionaire's long-lost youngest son found and his adoptive mother is her. #in grateful return. Tycoon pours millions into Zhou family business. Good deeds bring good fortune. The charmed life of Zhou Xia. At this very moment, only then did Mr. and Mrs. Liu realize what opportunity they'd lost. If only they hadn't abandoned Liu Tianxi back then, out of gratitude for their upbringing. Liu Tianxi's birth parents would surely repay them with all their might, just like me now. What a pity. It's all too late. It's just their ill fate. They were blessed with such good fortune. 22. After exchanging some polite compliments about virtue being rewarded, they took their leave, watching Mr. and Mrs. Liu's retreating figures. I laughed. Truth be told, I was never truly a good person. I knew Liu Tianxi's true identity from the very beginning, in my past life, when I was in the hospital. News broke that the youngest son of Asia's richest man was tracked down to an orphanage by his enemies and brutally murdered. The manner of death was utterly gruesome. A second chance at life. I'm ambitious. I'll seize every opportunity within my grasp. I deliberately brought Liu's parents to the orphanage where Liu Tianxi lived. It was also me who asked the director to highlight Liu Tianxi during the introduction. I've learned that Liu Tianxi lost his memory right after arriving at the orphanage. But that never hindered his remarkable intelligence. His parents would choose him. What a shame. They're so heartless and selfish, abandoning Liu Tianxi completely just for their own grandson. But me, I can take him in without raising any suspicion. Everything falls perfectly into place. I gave them the opportunity. Too bad they didn't take it. Lin Shui's pregnancy was exactly as I'd anticipated. In my past life, Lin Shui was also pregnant, unfortunately. The pregnancy couldn't be sustained due to genetic abnormalities. This lifetime followed the same pattern. I had someone discreetly inform Lin Shui that the Liu parents never intended to accept her. We'll kick her out after she gives birth. That's why she desperately exposed her affair with Liu Zhou. Even being called a homewrecker didn't stop her. All to secure her position. Lin Shui demanded marriage, demanded Liu Tianxi's eviction, demanded company shares, demanded money. The Liu parents could have refused all these demands, yet for the sake of their precious grandson, they chose silent compliance and support. Thus, all this came to pass. It was doomed to be a futile effort from the start. As for that deranged caregiver, before I could intervene, Lin Shui confronted her first. From beginning to end, Lin Shui was well aware that caregiver was shady, but she did it on purpose. Just like how she tormented me in our past lives, now she's doing the same to Liu Zhou. Once Lu Zhou dies, all the money left by his father will be hers. 23. As for me, I just managed to call the police for Lu Zhou in his final moments. I knew Lin Shui was doing drugs. Before I could even report her, she overdosed and kicked the bucket. Maybe it's for the best. At least I'll have Lu Zhou for company on the road to rebirth. Later, my career flourished, and under my leadership, the company reached unprecedented heights. As for my parents, they started pressuring me to get married. Just like all parents do, they had this whole life path planned out for me. When I firmly refused, my dad took it as a challenge to his authority, to teach me a lesson and keep me in line. My father came out of retirement, trying to regain control of the company, but now, he finally realized everything had changed. His authority and prestige had been gradually eclipsed by me over these years, to the point where most people in the company don't even recognize him anymore. Nobody pays attention to or cares about his decrees. Of course my dad refused to accept it at first. He reached out to former partners, friends, and investors, but came up empty-handed. Nobody was willing to help him. After hitting wall after wall, my father finally understood. He lost. I'm no longer someone he can manipulate at will. I remain his pride, unique and irreplaceable, now and always. As for him, forever shackled to pride. All of this is what I've fought so hard for, my past life's tragedy. Are Lu Zhou and Lin Shui really the only villains here? Aren't my parents just as guilty? They never laid hands on me or schemed against me, but they abandoned me and crushed my will to live. Sometimes, those who stay silent share the guilt of the abuser. During those years confined to a sickbed in my past life, watching Lu Zhou before me, his feet trapped beneath the boulder, throne, if I could reach an irreplaceable position, even as a cripple, no one would dare discard me at will. Men, family, friendship, they will all betray you. Only power and status remain loyal. A second chance at life. My goals have always been crystal clear. Shed all distractions and focus solely on building my career. The end. Next story. Quang Jing threw money at me, and I slapped him in public. I hate him for treating me like a plaything, but after I was murdered, he killed my enemy for me and committed suicide in front of my grave to show his love for me, reborn back to the day they first met. He leaned against his Porsche and waved his credit card. 30,000. I'll buy you dinner. This time I sat directly in the passenger seat. Only 30,000. You have to pay more. 1. I died and my soul floated over the cemetery. Both my parents passed away, and I don't know who handled my funeral affairs. At the beginning, teachers, classmates from school, and friends from the welfare home came to see me. I longed to hear what happened to the two people who harmed me, but no one mentioned it. Later, it became quiet again. 2 months later, Quang Jing came. He was one of what I call a pursuer. To put it nicely, he is a pursuer, but in fact he is the financial sponsor who wants to support me. I hate him very much. On the day of reporting for my junior year, Quang Jing blocked me at the school gate. He drove a luxury car and stretched out his hand holding a credit card from the car and waved it around, as if giving me alms. Sui, here is 30,000. I want you to have dinner with me. I turned and walked away, and he followed me in his slow car. Along the way, parents and classmates carrying luggage all looked at us. There were also parents who pointed at us and whispered to their children who had just started school, when you go to college, you must study hard. If you need money, ask your family for it. Don't try to be like other rich men. Girls should love themselves. I felt ashamed and angry, with tears welling up in my eyes. As soon as he got off the car, I slapped him on the spot. Quang Jing, who do you think I am? Do you respect others? Quang Jing was beaten back half a step, with red marks clearly visible on his face. His eyes turned cold instantly. He pursed his lips and punched the car door. Sooner or later you will beg me for help. I wiped away my tears and turned away. Later, Quang Jing also harassed me, and every time I scolded him, I gritted my teeth and I once thought he would hit me, but in the end, he just said, Sui, remember, except for me, no one in this world will be truly generous to you. What he said was too arrogant and fake, so I just ignored it. Anyone could be sincere except him. It was not until I calmed down and thought back to the days after his death that I realized that it was Quang Jing who was truly generous to me. At that time, the dean had another heart attack and was sent to the hospital, and he had to undergo surgery as soon as possible. I spent all my time working, from 8 in the morning to 5 in the morning, sleeping for 3 hours and then getting up to continue. One time I came out of a KTV at 5 in the morning and was so tired that I fell asleep sitting at the door. It was Quang Jing who woke me up. He stared at me quietly for a while, then he squatted down and looked me in the eye and said, "The counselor told me to tell you that if you don't go back to class, You will be put on probation. I rubbed my face and said, wait a little longer, until I finish my work today. Quang Jing frowned, looking unhappy. Are you so short of money? I didn't say anything. Quang Jing took out a card from his pocket and said, here. I immediately turned my head away. I don't want your money. Can I eat you? He sneered. Don't worry. I'm not supporting you. I'm just borrowing you. When will it be returned? I asked, casual. I lowered my head, hesitating whether to answer it. Quang Jing's patience was clearly running out. He grabbed my hand and shoved the card into my palm. You can consider other people's money, but not mine. You are like a stubborn donkey. You treat your self-esteem as a carrot and you can pull the millstone for your whole life. I clutched the card tightly. He doesn't understand that for me. Self-esteem is the only thing that I don't need to fight for. I can keep it just by persisting, I whispered. I'll pay you back when I graduate and get a job. Quang Jing stared at me for a few seconds and suddenly smiled. Sui, you really have guts, too. It's a pity that I died before I graduated. Is Quang Jing here to collect debt from me? He seemed much more haggard and had a little stubble on his face. He is different from the young man who was always well dressed in my memory. He sat quietly in front of my tombstone for a while, then took out a ring from his pocket. I have seen that ring. He always wears it on his hand and never takes it off. Quang Jing placed the ring in front of the tombstone, together with the flowers, then supported himself with his hands and looked up at my photo on the tombstone. Sui, you are really stupid. You don't even know how you died, and you still need your man to help you find out. Whoever is my man, I will spit on him. I bribed those idiots with just a few bucks, and they finally ruled that you committed suicide, but it doesn't matter. Your man is more capable, and he avenged you. I'll make them pay you back tenfold for the blow you took. He laughed heartily, but the wind blew his hair into a mess, and he looked so lonely. In your next life, I hope you can be born into a good family and not live such a hard life, he said softly. After Quang Jing finished speaking, he took out a dagger from behind and stabbed it straight into his heart. No matter how much I cried and screamed, I couldn't stop the blood from gushing out. His lips moved slightly. So, you are in so much pain. Quang Jing fell in a pool of blood, dead. I cried bitterly and touched his eyebrows, shouting help again and again. Please, someone can come and save him, but no one can hear my voice. 3. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing at the university gate. In front of him was Quang Jing, who was holding a credit card and looked like he deserved a beating. At this moment, he had not yet been provoked by my attitude to the point where he was emitting a sharp and gloomy aura, nor had he been tainted with the dejection and determination before committing suicide. He is still full of vigor and is a favored child of heaven, not a murderer. Sui, here is 30,000. I want you to have dinner with me. Seeing that I was looking at him in silence, he added, don't rush to reject me. Without waiting for him to finish, I opened the car door and sat in the passenger seat. Who said I was going to refuse? Quang Jing was stunned for a moment, as if surprised by my attitude. Then he raised a playful smile and got back into the car. It was not until then that I realized that this was not a dream. I was really reborn. I leaned against the car window and could feel Quang Jing observing me out of the corner of my eye. Now he doesn't know me. I agreed to get in his car so readily. He probably thought I was a gold digger. But if I were to live my life over again, I would definitely give it to him. In my previous life, in order to protect my ridiculous self-esteem, I made myself and the dean suffer too much. After I die, her illness will never be cured and she will have no choice but to wait for death. The person who had set his sights on me didn't dare to do anything to me at first because Quang Jing was around. But when Quang Jing's family went bankrupt and he was unable to take care of himself, and he gave up pursuing me, he started to pester me like a rat that had been lurking in the sewer for a long time and finally climbed out. Fortunately, God has given me another chance to correct my fate. Not only do I want Quang Jing to live well, but the dean and I also want to live well. 4. The restaurant was chosen by Quang Jing. The environment is fresh and elegant, and any dish on the menu costs several days' salary of mine. He was always so generous when pursuing people. Or maybe what seemed like a huge investment to me was just an ordinary expense to him. Quang Jing looked at me straight, as if he wanted to see through my thoughts. Through the window, the evening sun shines on the side of his face, outlining a clear outline and a straight nose, making him handsome and sharp. Why did you agree to have dinner with me? He raised his eyebrows slightly, his tone full of teasing. Actually, Quang Jing is quite good looking. I have always known that. It's just that he looks too frivolous, has an overwhelming aura, and does all kinds of things to harass me, so that this face makes me feel that he is just a playboy's capital for feasting and drinking, and he is just a beast in human clothing. It was not until the moment Guangjing fell in front of my grave that I realized that compared to that bleak and empty look, this aggressive and confident look was more familiar to me. It suits him better too. I'm hungry. I picked up the food seriously. The person opposite me started to look at me in a somewhat subtle way. I added, besides, you can earn 30,000 yuan for a meal, why not agree? Guangjing's original teasing words were completely blocked. As if he didn't expect that a girl could talk about worshipping money so confidently, he showed a somewhat amused expression. Don't you really know why I give you money? Not only do I know, I'm going to agree, I said, but I have one condition. Oh, I want another 200,000. I'll be available at your service until you graduate, but we can't have any intimate relations. Guangjing laughed out loud. You mean, I give you money but I can't touch you? I know what I said is ridiculous. As expected, he leaned back on the sofa, his tone nonchalant but revealing a hint of contempt. Why do you think you are worth so much money? I said calmly. I'm just stating my conditions. You can of course call me a gold digger and then turn around and look for a prettier girl. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, but he didn't respond immediately, but I knew he would agree, because based on my understanding of Guangjing, he has had an unusual obsession with me since the first time we met, and my resistance and disgust made him determined not to give up. I don't think he really loves me enough to die, so maybe, my face is really attractive to him. Besides, 200,000 is just a drop in the bucket for him. Interesting. Guangjing finally put away his playful smile and looked serious. But I also have my own requirements, you say. He leaned forward slightly. You seem to have some misunderstanding about me. I don't have the dirty habit of supporting someone. I want you to be my girlfriend. Are you kidding? I couldn't believe my ears. He is clearly a playboy who changes his female companion every 3 months, but he pretends to be innocent in front of me. Seeing me hesitate, Guangjing lowered his eyes and lazily turned his phone around, saying the same thing to me. I am just proposing my conditions. Of course you can refuse. But I will take back my loan. My heart tightened, and I remembered the pale face of the dean lying on the hospital bed when he first suffered a coronary heart attack. Okay, I finally agreed. 5. We agreed to be available at any time, and soon Guangjing asked me to meet him at the gymnasium. After I entered, I found a random seat and sat down. When I looked up, I saw Guangjing jumping up and dunking. He was wearing a loose short-sleeved white t-shirt and black sports shorts. When he jumped up, the corners of his clothes flew up, revealing half of his tight waistline. Good shot. Applause broke out all around. After landing, he turned around and ran back, and our eyes met from a distance. Guangjing stopped and wiped his sweat, then raised his chin towards me and said, "Classmate, can you pass me a bottle of water?" I stood up and took out a bottle of water from my bag, which he had specifically asked me to buy on WeChat, and walked over to hand it to him. The other people who were playing ball looked over in the direction of the sound. Someone whistled immediately, and someone else smiled meaningfully. Wow, Guangjing, you are so lucky again. Is this beauty a newcomer? Before I could react, Guangjing kicked me and yelled, "Are you calling me beauty? Call me sister-in-law." I was a little surprised that he would make it public. At the same time, I feel an indescribable shame about the word sister-in-law. As if a child is pretending to be an adult, the person who was kicked quickly changed his words. Others also noticed something. In their circle, girlfriend and lover are two different identities. They exchanged glances, and the nonchalant attitude on their faces changed noticeably. Guangjing walked over and lowered his head and asked, "I asked you to come and watch me play basketball, but why are you hiding so far away?" I didn't say anything and just stuffed the water into his arms. Guangjing's expression was calm. "Help me twist it." I just bumped my finger. Immediately afterwards, mischievous boos came one after another. "Oh, Xingji is pretending to be weak, so brother Xing is like this in front of his sister-in-law." Although Guangjing didn't show any expression, his eyes were drooping and he looked aggrieved. "That's enough." I glared at him and said in a low voice, then unscrewed the bottle cap for him. Guangjing laughed. He then took it and tilted his head back to drink the water, with drops of water sliding down the corners of his lips and into his collar. "Hey." I quickly pressed a tissue against his chest. "What are you doing? It's all spilled." As soon as I finished speaking, Guangjing grabbed my wrist and pulled me forward, and my hand touched his slightly wet clothes. Seeing that the situation was not right, the others consciously went back to continue playing. He lowered his head with a smile and whispered to the tip of his ear, "Have you touched enough? Do you want to lift it up and take a look?" My face flushed. I retracted my fingers as if I had received an electric shock, and subconsciously shouted, "Guangjing, this sentence doesn't sound like a scolding, but more like an act of coquettishness." I quickly stopped talking and glared at him. then met his triumphant smile. It's that familiar rogue face again. It makes me feel upset when I see it. Where's the agreed 200,000? When will you transfer the money to me? I said coldly. Quang Zheng's smile disappeared. He looked at me dimly. Are you so short of money? 6. After getting the money, I took the dean to the hospital for a physical examination as soon as possible. The dean was diagnosed with coronary heart disease a month earlier than in his previous life, so he was able to be hospitalized immediately and arranged for surgery. The director held my hand and trembled. His face was pale and his eyes were red as he said, Wei, what should I do? The operation will cost more than 200,000 yuan. How can I afford that much money? I put my arm around her shoulders, stroked her hands, and said, don't worry, Dean Mama, I have money. The dean turned to look at me in surprise and asked, you are still in school, where did you get the money? I won a prize from a big computer competition. The finals are in Beijing. I'm going to take a leave of absence to attend the competition the week of your surgery. I'll be able to pay off the surgery fee when I come back. This is the most reasonable explanation I can think of. In my previous life, I was indeed shortlisted for this competition, but I didn't dare to take a leave from my job at that time, so I missed the competition. The dean's eyes lit up, but then became filled with worry. That's not that much, as long as you make it to the finals. You can get at least 200,000 yuan. The big company also gives you a signing bonus. I took out my phone and quickly searched the news from previous years. Look, the senior who won the award last year went straight to this big company after graduation. In fact, the news on this page was 5 years ago, and there are no such large bonuses now. But the dean was presbyopic and couldn't see the words clearly. She just stroked the photo of the young man in a suit on the screen, and finally smiled. Our Weiwei has a promising future. Studying is really useful. If she knew that the child she was so proud of not only often skipped classes in his previous life, but also had terrible final grades and was almost on probation, but was eventually murdered, ending his short and miserable life, would she be disappointed? My eyes instantly turned red and I quickly lowered my head and pretended to look at the electrocardiogram. At the same time, long-term plans also emerge in mind. This time I have to participate in the competition throughout and get the prize money to cover the subsequent treatment costs. At the same time, I cannot fall behind in my professional courses in school to ensure that I can enter a large company after graduation. Just as I was thinking about it, my phone suddenly vibrated. I stared at the caller ID dear husband on my phone for a few seconds. Then I remembered that Quang Jing forced me to change this before I left last time. What a bad taste. I walked to the stairwell and heard his lazy voice. Accompany me to the exhibition this weekend. Not on the weekend. I have to accompany my mother to the hospital for treatment. The other party was silent for a few seconds, then asked, which hospital? I'll arrange for a doctor I'm familiar with to go see your mother. No, it's already been arranged. I slowed down my tone. How about next week? Quang Jing sneered. Su Wei, I am your creditor now. You are not qualified to bargain. I looked at my reflection in the glass window. My face was pale but still attractive. So, as a girlfriend, can I request a date extension? Boyfriend, there was a sound of something falling over the phone. The identity that I refused to acknowledge until my death in my previous life has now become my most convenient weapon. As expected, when Quang Jing spoke again, his voice was tense. Forget it, this won't happen again. When I hung up the phone, I couldn't help laughing. It's easy to coax him too. It's just a girlfriend or something, you can't trust her. 7. On the day I had an appointment with Quang Jing, in order to avoid being recognized by people at school, I got up early and dressed up. I braided my hair, put on a beret, and baggy overalls, and finally covered most of my face with a pair of big sunglasses. When we arrived at the agreed location, Quang Jing's expression froze for a moment when he saw me. What kind of outfit is this, little painter? I pushed my sunglasses up to ensure they wouldn't slip down. Doesn't it look good? The main reason is that there are so many people at the exhibition and there's a chance that someone from our school might recognize it. Quang Jing laughed. It looks good, but don't regret it in a moment. I'm still wondering what there is to regret, but when I went in, I saw that everyone was dressed up in jewelry and I became the odd one out. I thought today was an art exhibition or a photography exhibition. But it turned out to be a Gaozhou exhibition. I didn't explain my anger clearly, but I felt relieved again. I probably wouldn't meet my classmates here. After we sat down, the salesperson quickly brought over a batch of jewelry. Quang Jing pointed at me and said, see if there is a style that suits her. The salesperson looked at me hesitantly, apologetically. I'm sorry, Mr. Quang. We don't have any styles suitable for children at the moment. I felt my face getting hot instantly. Quang Jing was also at a loss for words, and reached out to take off my sunglasses. She is my daughter. I'm an adult, I interrupted him quickly, stopping his movements, lowering my head to hold my sunglasses, and doing it in one go. But I don't like any of these styles, please take them all off. Quang Jing's face turned cold instantly. As soon as the salesperson left, he asked with a stern face, "What do you mean? You don't want me to say you are my girlfriend?" I was a little helpless. "I am just your contracted girlfriend, there is no need to make it public. What if I run into someone you know here?" Quang Jing sneered. "You are considerate." After saying that, he suddenly stood up and walked out. I hurriedly chased after him and grabbed his arm. Before I could say anything, someone greeted me. Xiao Jing. The middle-aged man who was walking towards him looked at Quang Jing with a smile. "What a coincidence, we meet here." I looked at this person silently, as if I had seen him somewhere. In a flash, an impression suddenly flashed through my mind. Isn't this the CFO Zhou Zhenhai who caused the bankruptcy of Quang Group in the previous life due to financial fraud, hiding debts, and inflating profits? Quang Jing's address further confirmed my guess. "Uncle Zhou, is the company not busy recently?" "I'm not busy, so I took some time to accompany the one at home to pick out some jewelry." "What about you? Did you bring your girlfriend with you?" Zhou Zhenhai asked with a smile. Quang Jing curled his lips and smiled a little fakely. "She's just a junior." My mind moved slightly, and I quickly took his arm. "Uncle Zhou, he is joking. I am Quang Jing's girlfriend." She pretended to be innocent and smiled shyly. "I have long admired Uncle Zhou's insights in the field of digital transformation. My name is Su Wei, and I majored in computer science. This year, I was shortlisted for the finals of the college student competition. I hope to get an internship opportunity at Quang's company after winning the championship." Originally, Zhou Zhenhai didn't need to bother with a small person like me. It was just because of Quang Jing that he put on a friendly smile. "Young people are really to be feared. Since Ms. Su has the ability to enter the finals and is Xiao Jing's girlfriend, it must not be difficult for her to enter the company." As he spoke, Zhou Zhenhai took out a business card from the inside pocket of his suit. "We are currently building an intelligent financial system that needs talent. If Ms. Su wins an award, you can contact me at any time." I held the business card in my hand, my face full of surprise. "I heard that Quang's company offers 5-digit salaries to interns. I'm really looking forward to it." After Zhou Zhenhai left, I carefully analyzed the conversation. The smart financial system he mentioned may be closely related to future data tampering. I have just revealed that what I am after is money. I don't know whether Zhou Zhenhai will use me in the future. If I can prevent the Quang Group from going bankrupt, it would mean that I have repaid the favor of Quang Jing who avenged me in my previous life. Just as I was thinking about it, I heard Quang Jing sneer. "Su Wei, you are awesome. Didn't you want to make it public just now? Why, you changed your mind once you saw Zhou Zhenhai." "Su Wei, when you took the money, you didn't say you would include my connections in the calculation." 8. Quang Jing was angry and didn't contact me for several days. I was busy preparing for the competition. The final was a team competition. I had joined the team that won the first prize in the national team competition in my previous life. I applied for a laboratory from the school and built models with them every day. He didn't call me, and I was happy to save time. After coming out of the laboratory, I went to the cafeteria to buy food and finally returned to the dormitory. As soon as the door was opened, 3 heads popped out from behind the bed curtains. "The food is here." "Oh my God, Wei Wei. You are so kind." The 3 women screamed, jumped out of bed, rushed towards me, and snatched the food from my hands. "Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your hard work. The meal money has been sent to the group. Wei Wei, remember to collect it." In my previous life, in order to save money, I did not choose to live in the school dormitory. Instead, I lived in a staff dormitory outside the school, and I didn't know almost any of my classmates at school. As a result, when rumors spread that I spent a night with Quang Jing and bought a Chanel bag, my classmates only whispered when they saw me and no one believed me. One time before class, I heard a few men and women in front of me discussing why I had a Chanel bag and still carried a canvas bag every day. A boy showed an unfathomable expression. "You don't understand this. A canvas bag can attract more men. Chanel is for accompanying clients at night. How can you carry it during the day?" TSK. "It's possible," they suddenly realized. I sat in the back and was shaking with anger. So after my rebirth, I decisively chose to return to school and live there. This is also the reason why I don't want people at school to see me meeting Quang Jing. At 6:30 in the evening, the 4 of us went out on time. "Why do we have to attend evening self-study classes in our junior year? I'm so fed up," Xia Shiwei complained. Jinjin agreed like a little chicken pecking at rice. "That's right, I was quite happy. After all, I had many part-time jobs before and rarely had such a leisurely time to attend evening self-study classes. Huizi suddenly thought of something, turned around and asked me seriously, Wei Wei, has Quanjing looked for you recently? The report of what happened at the school gate that day spread throughout the school, and the three of them were no exception, so I spent a few minutes talking about my dinner with Quanjing. And frankly said that I had agreed to be Quanjing's girlfriend. It just concealed the fact that I borrowed 200,000 yuan. I was afraid of leaving them with the same impression I had in my past life, although now I really am after Quanjing's money. When you were away, the three of us discussed it carefully and we still want to remind you to be safe. Will a young man like Quanjing really have a healthy relationship with you? Huizi said solemnly. Yes, yes, Jinjin frowned. Her family was the best among the four of us. My parents took me to some places, and I met Quanjing there a few times. Although he looked quite impressive, few rich and handsome men would remain chaste. I heard that he was into cigarettes, alcohol, and women in private. I feel a little guilty. This relationship is indeed unhealthy. It is just a transaction of money. As he was talking, Junjin suddenly pointed to the front and said, Hey, isn't that Quanjing? Why is his hand on a girl's shoulder? I looked over and saw Quanjing holding a girl and walking towards the school gate, saying something. The girl had big wavy hair and was wearing a mask, with smiling eyes. Xiaoxue was furious. I'm going to kill this bastard. I was also a little surprised. After getting it, did Quanjing get tired of it so quickly? But I quickly stopped Xiaoxue, who wanted to rush over to question her. And Jinjin and Huizi also advised her to calm down. Let's go. Let's go to class first. It's too late. As if he heard something, Quanjing looked back, wondering if he saw us. After sitting down in the classroom, Xiaoxue crossed her arms and said coldly, You shouldn't have stopped me just now. I should have punched him in the head. He is my creditor. I can't bully him. I could only force a smile and say, Maybe there's some misunderstanding. I'll ask him later. Junjin pouted. Not only did he get a great deal on a beauty like Wei Wei, but he even dared to put his arm around other girls in public. Xiaoxue exhaled slowly and said, Wei Wei, you have to spend his money ruthlessly. Don't save money for him. What? Give him at least one of the two, money or love. Let him transfer 30,000 or 50,000 yuan to let me see his strength. Junjun and Huizi also nodded. I didn't expect to hear such words. I was stunned and lowered my head to ask softly, Won't this make me look like a materialist? Tisk, if not money. What else do you worship? Are you asking him not to leave you? Xiaoxue said with disdain. The dean called me on video before going to bed. I wanted to show some concern for her, but I laughed out loud when I opened my mouth. You're in a good mood. What happy thing happened today? She asked with a smile. I curled my lips and said, I made some good friends at school. 9. The WeChat message asking for information was never sent. I secretly thought that Quanjing would never give up, after all. He pursued me so fiercely in my previous life. But I didn't hear from Quanjing for several days in a row, and I tossed and turned in bed in the early morning. Yes, why was I so confident that Quanjing would always like me? Maybe you didn't really like me in your previous life. It was just an obsession, but is this obsession worth his death for me? This night is destined to be sleepless, but I didn't expect that Quanjing would come to block me at the entrance of the teaching building the next day. When I walked towards him, he looked at me sinisterly, gnashing his teeth and saying, Su Wei, it's really hard for you to coax people. I was speechless for a few seconds and apologized honestly. I was wrong. I was wrong last time. What did you do wrong? Quanjing was so angry that he ruffled my hair. Forget it, I'm in a good mood today, so I won't bother with you. Quanjing took my hand and said, Come with me. As a result, he took many turns and drove the car directly to the door of a villa. There were two people standing in front of the door. The man was clearly Quan Xinghong, the president of Quan Group who often appeared in the news. The woman next to him turned out to be the big wavy beauty that Quanjing embraced that day. She turned out to be Quanjing's mother. Quanjing pulled me out of the car, and I was completely stunned. What kind of operation is this? How can I meet my parents directly? I had to force a smile and greet them. Good evening, uncle and aunt. Mother Quan held my hands and said, Wei Wei is here. Are you hungry after class? Come in quickly. The yam and pork ribs your uncle cooked tonight look delicious. I wonder if it suits your appetite. My arms tensed instantly. Quanjing noticed it and pulled my hand away with a smile. Mom, don't scare her. Oh, you protect me very well. Quang's mother glared at him, but there was no sign of anger on her face. Instead, she smiled more kindly. Quang Xinghong laughed loudly, put his arm around Quang's mother's shoulders, and led her to the door. Come in quickly. If you don't come in, how can Wei Wei have the nerve to go in first? after everyone was seated. Mother Kwang kept putting food into my bowl and asked me about my taste preferences from time to time. Kwang Jinghong does not look as serious as he appears in the news. Instead, he looks like a naughty boy, and his mother is even more gentle as water. During the meal, even though I had no idea about the etiquette of being a guest at the elder's home, they did not show the slightest displeasure. I thought I would be subjected to comprehensive questioning from Kwang Zheng's parents. But I did not expect to be completely integrated into their family conversation. When I heard gossip about relatives that I didn't understand, Kwang's mother would explain it to me, just asking about my parents' health and learning that I grew up in an orphanage. Mother Kwang walked around half the dining table and gave me a tight hug, stroking my back with her warm hands. Good boy, it must have been hard to get through these years. I stood rigid, my vision blurring out as I looked at the family portrait on the opposite wall. When he was a child, Kwang Jing was wearing a fencing suit and holding a trophy, with his parents standing on both sides smiling proudly. That kind of pure happiness was like a mirror, reflecting my scholarship application form that I could never fill out, growing up in such a family atmosphere. It is no wonder that Kwang Jing has developed such a confident and outspoken personality. It was almost 10 o'clock when Kwang Jing sent me back to school. I remained silent on the way back to the dormitory. As I was walking, someone grabbed my wrist. Kwang Jing looked down at me and for the first time, his voice sounded cautious. Are you blaming me? To be honest, I don't blame him. I said I would fulfill my girlfriend's duties and be there whenever you call, regardless of the occasion. I'm just curious why you want to bring me to meet your parents, even though we just met. Kwang Jing was silent for a few seconds, then squatted down. Come up. What? I was afraid you'd run away. The street lights shone on his back, outlining the broad, straight lines like a reliable ship. I somehow got on top of him and put my arms around his neck. He stood up steadily and walked down the road with me on his back. The voice spread from the chest to the spine, and it returned to its usual arrogance. If I don't block you today, are you going to avoid me for the rest of your life? No, it's obviously you who is throwing a tantrum, I stammered guiltily. Don't think I don't know that you ran faster than a mouse when you saw me hugging my mom that day. Why did you run? He laughed, his Adam's apple trembling slightly beside my arm. You thought I was cheating on you, and as your official girlfriend, you didn't even dare to come up and slap me. I felt like laughing. How could I be considered a real girlfriend? He suddenly lifted me up, and I was so scared that I hugged his neck tightly. So now I'm going to put a stamp on it. Let my parents know about your existence. Let everyone in the school see clearly who your girlfriend is. And tell those who want to steal your girlfriend to get the hell away from me. The most important thing is to let your stubborn head see clearly that I am serious about you being my girlfriend. This is not a contractual girlfriend. And I am not just throwing money at you for fun. I opened my lips. I was used to Kwang Jing's explicit confessions in my previous life, so I interrupted him every time, which made him even more annoyed. Only this time, I could hear the affection and seriousness in his tone. A thought arose in my heart. Su Wei, just accept this inexplicable love. There will be no next life to miss it. 10. Kwang Jing and I are 1 year apart. Kwang Jing is in the stage of preparing his thesis and doing internship, and usually does not live in school. So we only met when he called me. But from that day on, the relationship between us changed qualitatively. Kwang Jing picked me up from school every day, and occasionally accompanied me in the lab to prepare for competitions. I no longer avoided walking side by side with him in school or having meals with him in the cafeteria, and I no longer refused to accept his red envelopes and gifts. As the competition approached, I had a meal with my teammates and wished them all the best. I drank 2 glasses of fruit wine during the meal. When Kwang Jing came to pick me up, my cheeks were already hot and my eyes were a little dazed. Kwang Jing held my waist with one hand, and said with a faint smile, Su Wei, do you still recognize who I am? I am your man. It sounds so familiar. I might be able to hold it in when I'm sober, but I really can't when I'm drunk. This time I can finally spit out, bah, I don't have a man. Kwang Jing held me tighter and laughed, with a hint of ruffian in his laughter, like a stubborn donkey. Because the restaurant was near the school, Kwang Jing parked the car at the door and walked with me back to school. The street lights cast the silhouettes of falling leaves on the wall. I was lowering my head and stepping on the fallen leaves when Kwang Jing suddenly grabbed my wrist. Look at the wall. I turned my head and saw our overlapping shadows there. He moved closer to me, so close that the ends of my hair could brush against his eyebrows. Look, do the shadows look like they are kissing? I looked again and it was clearly overlapping. Not 2 complete shadows at all. Nonsense. I turned my head to argue, but bumped into his face which was so close to me. When my lips touched the warmth, the wind stopped. All I could smell was a faint scent of cedar on him. mixed with the aroma of the plum wine I had just drunk. We're kissing now. Guangjing raised the corners of his lips triumphantly, with my lipstick mark still on his lips. I stepped back in a hurry, but my lower back hit his prepared arm. You did it on purpose. Yeah, I did it on purpose. He held my hand, intertwined our fingers, and continued walking forward. I was led by him for a few steps. A bitter taste rose up my throat, along with the questions that I hadn't asked when I was sober. I let out a deep breath. Did you get along with the girls you were with before in the same way? Guangjing was confused and turned to look at me. What do you mean by this? I lowered my head. Nothing. Guangjing lifted my chin and looked me in the eye. You seem to have a lot of misunderstandings about me. Why not ask me directly? Before I could say anything, he answered my question. I have never put any effort into pursuing other girls, so I won't be like this when I'm with them. They, I muttered, have quite a lot of love experience. Guangjing was amused. Are you jealous? I don't know. I just wanted to scratch Guangjing, so I actually grabbed his hand and started scratching it. Suddenly I heard him say, you can't expect someone who has never been in love to be good at it. I have been in love many times, but you have to know that I also have a lot of experience in love. He lowered his head and held my hand that was tickling him. I have 10,000 ways to love you now. My heart moved, then his drowsy brain became clear for a moment and he shook his head again. No, the way you love is wrong. 11. Guangjing was stunned, but I said calmly, you offered me 30,000 yuan to have dinner with you the first time we met. You flirted with me in public at the gym to test my limits, and you even met my parents without consulting me in advance. I can understand these, but I don't agree with them. Perhaps you are used to using money to solve everything, or perhaps many people came for your money, so you think that on the day of the report, you pay the money and I provide the people. This is just right, right? Guangjing shook his head, his voice a little hoarse. No, I'm sorry, if I reject you, you will be shocked and furious. How could a girl in this world reject your money? Guangjing tried to refute. I didn't, you did. I said firmly, unfortunately. I really lack money in this life, and I succumbed. Therefore, this relationship has been unequal and unfair from the beginning. You and I must be in a relationship dependent on money. Our relationship must have a price tag. Most importantly, my voluntary behavior under the pressure of survival is not true freedom of choice at all. Guangjing's grip on my hand kept tightening, and his Adam's apple rolled rapidly. What I am talking about are topics that his circle has never touched upon or thought about, but what I want is for you to bend down and look at me with equal eyes. I touched the corner of his stiff lips with red eyes. Like now, you will panic because of my tears, you will be at a loss for what to do because of my words. Instead of always being able to easily settle everything with money, money can't buy my love, but respect can. Suddenly, I remembered the scene in front of the KTV at 5 in the morning in my previous life. At that time, Guangjing seemed to have learned to respect. I just missed it, but it doesn't matter. Guangjing will understand it earlier in this life, because he bent down, rested his head on my shoulder, his chest against my chest, and the violent beating of our hearts seemed like some kind of swearing ceremony. 12. Because I was drunk. I was a little late when I arrived at the classroom the next day. As soon as I sat down in the seat my roommates reserved for me, I heard whispers of discussions from the front row, which drilled into my ears like a poisonous snake spitting out its tongue. I guess he was sent back by that guy again. I heard he comes back very late every day. I heard she was working part-time. It seems like she worked several jobs a day during her college years. You believe this? Didn't you see how much the shoes she's wearing cost? And the car she drove last time was a Porsche. TSK. It's hard to say what kind of part-time job she has. Xiaoxue suddenly threw the book on the table, and the thermos fell to the ground. The loud bang made the classroom quiet instantly. She stared at the two boys in front of her. Why are you talking so excitedly? Are you sharing your experience in treating hemorrhoids? You. The boy's face suddenly turned red. Junjun patted the Saint Laurent tote bag in front of her and said, are you making a fuss about a pair of shoes worth thousands of dollars? The drawstring of my bag is enough to buy all your clothes. If you ask me, instead of staring at your female classmates' shoes, why don't you change your torn socks first? There were bursts of suppressed laughter in the classroom. Another boy stiffened his neck. Why are you pretending to be a rich and beautiful girl? You are still a hangout. Speaking of defamation. Huizi picked up her phone and read aloud in a stiff tone. The criminal law stipulates that if someone openly insults others or fabricates facts to defame others, and the circumstances are serious, he shall be sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment of not more than 3 years. The surveillance cameras in the classroom have a recording function. Now we can call the police and collect evidence. Now all the students dared not say a word. Don't, the boy pressed Huizi's phone hard. His hands shaking. Can we apologize? Sorry. I stared blankly at the three girls who were standing up for me, and thought of myself in my previous life who was condemned by thousands of people. It turns out that the feeling of being protected by friends is like suddenly entering a hot spring in the cold winter, making your eyes wet. After class, Kwang Jing called to pick me up. Xiaoxue grabbed the phone and answered, Mr. Kwang, your girlfriend was bullied in the classroom. After I got in the car, Kwang Jing put his hands on the steering wheel and drove for a while before asking, tell me, what happened just now? Were you bullied? Fine. I paused, then told him everything. Someone was talking about the two of us, and they said something unpleasant. Then repeat to him what the two people said. Who said that? Bring your man to meet him. His face was cold and hard, as if he was going to kill the person who spread the rumor. I quickly touched his hand to comfort him. It's only natural for me to spend money on my girlfriend. Besides, who would be so aggrieved to have a girlfriend who doesn't like to spend money? She's like a eunuch who visits brothels, with money but no use. I was amused by his strange metaphor. 13. I was going to Beijing to participate in a competition this time, and Kwang Jing sent me directly to the airport. After reuniting with my teammates, I waved goodbye to Kwang Jing. Before the plane took off, I had a video call with the dean. I promised her that I would come back with the bonus on the day of her surgery. Just like in the previous life, our team still won the first prize with our excellent work. My personal points ranked first, and I received olive branches from many big companies present, but I only have one company in mind. Zhou Zhenhai, as the company representative, came on stage to present the award and handed the crystal trophy to me. Congratulations, Sue. The internship offer from Kwang Group will be sent to your email soon. I would also like to thank Mr. Zhou for the opportunity. I raised the trophy to block the live camera. I am very interested in your company's intelligent financial system construction. On the return flight, I repeatedly stroked my bank card. Soon, 30,000 yuan would be deposited into the card, enough to support the dean's next operation. The moment the red light in the operating room went out, the surgeon took off his mask and smiled, which made me burst into tears as I threw myself into the arms of the awakening dean. The smell of disinfectant mixed with the saltiness of tears was the breath of life. For the first time since my rebirth, I felt that my destiny was in my own hands, so I made a decision. After Kwang Jing came to visit the dean, he was worried that I wouldn't get enough rest, so he booked a room in the hotel opposite the hospital. I curled up on the sofa and looked up Zhou Zhenhai's biography on the computer. The bathroom door opened, and Kwang Jing came out wiping his hair, with water droplets sliding down his abdominal muscles into the bath towel around his waist. He came over and took my hand. Let me test my recent fitness results. Seeing that the atmosphere was getting bad, I quickly held his wrist. Why, don't you miss me? He smiled and kissed the side of my face, his minty breath sweeping through my hair. My heart was beating a little faster. Kwang Jing, if I say I died once, would you believe me? He paused and blinked his wet eyelashes. What nightmares have you had recently? Next May, I was murdered on my way to my part-time job. 2 months later, you avenged me and then committed suicide in front of my grave. I touched his ribs. I was floating in front of you at the time and watched you die with my own eyes. His body temperature was transmitted to my fingertips, and I seemed to be able to clearly feel the non-existent scar. Kwang Jing's expression gradually froze, his Adam's apple rolling up and down. Where was I when you got into trouble? 14. He believed it so quickly that I was a little caught off guard. Before I got into trouble, your family had already gone bankrupt and was being besieged by creditors. I looked at the mist in his eyes. So don't blame yourself. The most important thing you need to know is that it was Zhou Zhenhai's financial fraud, hiding debts, and inflating profits that led to the bankruptcy of the Kwang Group. I said, I applied for the winter vacation internship at Kwang's Group and have received the offer. Zhou Zhenhai has agreed to let me work on the intelligent financial system construction project. I can use scripts to analyze the underlying data of the system, but if I want to retrieve the log of the modification record, I still need your permission. Kwang Jing suppressed his emotions and looked serious. Zhou Zhenhai gave up a high salary in the United States and joined the newly established Kwang Group. He attracted a lot of investment for Kwang Group. My father trusted him very much and gave him a lot of power. In other words, Zhou Zhenhai can make full decisions on budget approval and fund allocation without going through my father's hands. We both realized the complexity of the matter, and it was far from being solved just by knowing who the culprit was. Moreover, data retrieved without authorization may not be accepted by the judiciary due to procedural violations. Kwang Jing pondered for a moment, and finally said, I will discuss this matter with my father. but I am afraid that Zhou Zhenhai has not made any move yet. My father can only keep an eye on him for the time being. I still have to rely on you to compare whether there are any abnormal transaction patterns in the system. I don't know how Guangjing can convince Guang Xinghong to be on guard against Zhou Zhenhai without revealing my rebirth. When I entered the company as an intern, it was the busiest month for annual reviews. I worked with the project team for a month and finally waited for Zhou Zhenhai to meet me alone. After he called me to his office, he casually asked me, "Xiao Su, how is your relationship with Xiaojing lately? Is it going well?" In order to avoid suspicion, I deliberately did not let Guangjing pick me up and drop me off at Get Off Work. It seems that Zhou Zhenhai has been misunderstood. I smiled and said, "We broke up a long time ago. You know Guangjing. He changes people faster than he changes cars." Not sad. Zhou Zhenhai's eyes flashed with a shrewdness. I looked relaxed. "Oh, there's nothing to be sad about. Besides, I got a lot of things." After saying that, I pretended to be happy just thinking about it, and I smiled even more brightly. Zhou Zhenhai also smiled, looking nonchalant, and changed the subject naturally. "The marketing department needs to compare the transaction data of overseas subsidiaries in the past 3 years, and we need your help to process it. This is considered as extra work for you, so don't worry. We will give you a big red envelope before the new year, remember." Zhou Zhenhai raised his eyes. "If anyone asks, just say you are sorting out expense reimbursement documents." I showed an understanding expression and immediately bowed. "Thank you, Mr. Zhou, for your trust." He turned around with a smile, his palms full of cold sweat. Zhou Zhenhai began to act. 15. I provided the system data, and Guangjing also collected sufficient external physical evidence. What happens next is not something I can interfere with. It is said that Guang Xinghong urgently convened a closed-door meeting of the audit committee, avoiding Zhou Zhenhai's attendance, and launched an internal investigation. At the same time, a legal forensic team was hired to submit a complete chain of evidence to the Economic Investigation Department. Eventually Zhou Zhenhai was arrested and imprisoned. After this incident, my internship ended. My teammates who participated in the competition planned to start their own business and invited me. So I joined. During this period, the director's second operation went smoothly. The doctor said that as long as he took the medicine every day, the possibility of recurrence was very small. Everything is settled. When I graduated, I paid back 210,000 yuan to Guangjing including principal and interest. Guangjing did not refuse, but instead heaved a sigh of relief. Damn it. This deal is finally over. He took my hand and tried to kiss me. Baby, now we are both free. Come and kiss me. My mind was racing and my hands were flailing around involuntarily. With a bang, Guangjing was stunned. This was the first slap he had ever received in his life. I almost forgot to give it to him. Guangjing was shocked and angry. "You." I pinched his face and pressed my lips against his. "You can kiss me now." End of text. Extra. Previous life situation. 1. No one believes in love at first sight anymore. Guangjing didn't believe it either, so when he saw Su Wei at the school gate, he handed out a credit card through the car window without thinking. In his mind, love and affection are all empty words. He never lacks, but is also stingy in giving. Only real money can exchange for real beauty. But Su Wei really stumped him. She wanted nothing but dignity. Su Wei said that he only liked her face, not her as a person, and she needed the minimum dignity as a human being. So no matter whether Guangjing was gentle or persistent towards her, whether he invited her to dinner or bought her gifts, she refused them all. It nearly drove him crazy. A friend advised him, "This woman is stubborn and needs to be punished. Wait for me to find someone to punish her. I guarantee she will come to you and beg you." Guangjing pushed him away irritably, holding the wine glass, his eyelids drooping casually. His sight fell on the first floor of the bar. Suddenly, a figure moved among the crowd. Guangjing put the wine glass on the table and strode downstairs to chase after him. It was not until he grabbed the person's wrist and pulled her in front of him that Guangjing realized that this girl looked 80% similar to Su Wei. Even their height, figure, and body shape were very similar. But it wasn't Su Wei after all. He suddenly understood. It has to be her. It can only be her. He likes this person. Regardless of anything external or internal. What kind of love was this? Guangjing himself was not sure, too. But before he could sort out his feelings, his family was on the verge of bankruptcy. Later, Guangjing also harassed me, and every time I scolded him, I gritted my teeth and I once thought he would hit me. Or, either this person is busy today, or that person will refuse tomorrow. At a party, even those who used to be fawning and bowing to him and often asked him to do things for them dared to fight with him in public, and were beaten by him so badly that they could not get up. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Quang Jing walked out of the door holding his breath. I just happened to see Su Wei, who was so tired that she was sitting at the door of the KTV and sleeping. He stood in front of her and looked at her for a long time. It was very cold and she was shivering even in her sleep. It's all like this. Why are you still unwilling to accept his money? Thinking of this, Quang Jing woke her up. When I looked down at her, she looked small and fragile. He frowned slightly, somewhat unwilling to see such a scene, so he squatted down and looked at her at eye level so that he could see her eyes clearly. After that, in order to solve the mess at home, Quang Jing never looked for Su Wei again. The next time we heard from her, she had been murdered. 3. Originally, Quang Jing also wanted to take formal channels to bring the criminals to justice, but he came to the cemetery every day to inquire. Only to find out that in the past week, no one except him had come to visit Su Wei, but the girl he liked just died. Quang Jing